Hey guys! So we are going to be doing a rewind of Detective Dennis's testimony. He was on the stand, I think, for 4 days. It's going to be Love that's doing direct examination, so brace yourself. Today, I think we're going to get through the first 2 days that he was on the stand. He took the stand right after the tour bus driver for the Little Wayne bus shooting incident was off the stand. And Detective Dennis is expected to be called again relatively soon. We heard Brian Steele this week, and I think Shart, say, he's already been on the stand. He was already on the stand as a fact witness. How are they going to call him this time? So I thought it would be a good idea to rewatch this instead of jumping right to DK or Walter Murphy. Because you're going to get a taste, if you just tuned into this trial with the contempt of Brian Steele, you're going to get a taste of how repetitive this trial is and how much of it revolves around people that are not sitting in that courtroom. So it's going to be a good time. And since it's a rewind, we get to talk about certain things a little bit more, pause when we need to, and we can watch on a faster speed. So hey to everyone that's here. Everyone's using the pink hand to wave. Heck yeah. Cat chat on a Sunday afternoon, the best chat. Good to see you. See you when you come back, Rose. Hey, Urban Mainstream Media. Hey, Lynn. And good question. So the detective that Woody called Squirrel Brain was Detective Thorpe, who's also supposed to be called to the stand somewhat soon. And I guess I should mention, a lot of people know if you were on X or have been on YouTube yesterday, but the state made sure that Quindarious Zacharym was arrested through a warrant for material witness, which means we're only arresting you because we need your testimony. His family, Quindarious Zacharym's family, said that he was at the hospital receiving a treatment for a blood disease, which seems to be sickle cell, and the state scooped him on up on Friday. So in a minute, I'm going to grab, I saw GoFundMe links. I've donated. If you guys want to donate to help him afford some legal counsel, I'll share that GoFundMe in the chat. But just, it's crazy to think about that the state wants a witness so badly that they'll go and scoop them up from a hospital with a blood treatment and then keep them in custody Friday night, Saturday, Sunday until Monday morning. So that's where we are. That's where we are. We're going to hear Quindarious Zacharym mentioned a little bit with a play-by-play while Love has Dennis on direct. And thank you to everyone tuning in now. Factual Lie says, hello there, gang members and co-conspirators. Lots of pink hands here. Hello, Green Eggs. Hey, Patty. So I think he's coming back on the stand because the state wants to use him for testimony about things that are also about to come up. Love is supposed to not be introducing calls and statements from Quindarious Zacharym through Dennis when Dennis is back on the stand. She said she isn't going to attempt to try that. She also said she isn't going to attempt to try that with regular questioning of Quindarious Zacharym, but might use it to impeach him. So a lot of uncertainties with exactly what the state says they plan to do versus what they will actually do. And yeah, good point. Rice Street, of all places. So yeah, so we're going to get into this. I forwarded to the part where Dennis is about to get called to the stand. I'm going to put it on 1.5. You guys let me know how the speed is. And this is day 71 of the trial. I think that was May 6th. And again, it was a long lunch recess that they called right after the previous witness left the stand. Listen very carefully to the first thing Brian Steele says when we're about to call Detective Dennis.
Is Detective Dennis, I assume that's who's coming next. Then I have a motion still on exhibits that have not been fulfilled, and I'm also objecting to being qualified as an expert just to rehash what Detective Belknap testified to and Detective Gaither, testified to. So I just wanted to alert you.
Okay. Yes.
Your Honor, so
did you guys already peep that? If they're about to call this witness, and look at Brown's face back here. If they're about to call Dennis up to the stand and still has to say, look, we never dealt with the evidentiary issues that I filed, guess who probably wasn't identifying their witnesses or the exhibits they plan to tender with him on the stand? And this is as they're calling him.
So at this point, the purpose for Detective Dennis's testimony, we will obviously get into his background, but we will not be, he will be a fact witness at this time.
Okay. All right, what about the exhibits that,
We won't be using the ones that he has objections to.
okay, all right. All right, well, that satisfies that inquiry for the time being. Sorry to let you down. We'll deal with it when they come up, sir. Mr. Short? Okay, all right.
Your Honor, I spoke to Ms. Love, and she indicated to me that the video of my client that was the subject of litigation, the game video in the car.
Sure.
Okay. It won't be coming in today. I would like to be heard regarding possible limiting instructions and the like before it gets to the point of that being admitted into evidence over my objection, of course. But I was told that wasn't happening today. I just wanted to put that on your radar.
Okay, so you're following still with the same objections you have to that particular video, but now you'd like to ask me about some limiting instructions on that?
Yes, if it's going to be admitted, which Your Honor seemed to indicate it would, my understanding is the basis is to show association, and I would ask if that's the purpose of the video, to show association, that a limiting individuals in the video, as opposed to, because as I've been clear, there's great prejudice in the video, and there's great bad character evidence, and there's propensity evidence. So
Okay, we talked about that already, but I think that the state's offering it for a number of purposes, not just to show
Right.
association, but they've got a few other things. So it might be better for me to deal with that as a jury charge, but because it does come in for a couple other reasons, okay?
okay,
All right,
thank you.
all right. Okay, all right. All right, Ms. Love, are you ready, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Start naming some of our jurors, please.
Okay.
Who is Fulton County DA9?
That's the DNO.
Who's number 9? Okay, I just want to make sure. I'm trying to pull double duty. I just want to make sure.
I'm Judge, I'm SPDA, not the one that just came up with me. Turn that one off. Okay.
Let's drop the. Sorry, I forgot we could fast forward through these, but I did just drop the GoFundMe link for Quindarious Zacharym. It is started by his family members, and it's to help cover legal counsel, and I think they were trying to get him out. I don't know if that's really going to be a reality since it's already Sunday. But, and you guys are asking about this guy. I think this guy left the DA's office back here. The taller guy next to Brown. I think he's gone. He said, I'm out. And that's a testament to how long this trial's been going on.
Call your next witness, please.
State calls retired Detective Zacharym Dennis.
I summon Detective Dennis, please. All right, Detective Dennis, good afternoon, sir. Sir, if you would please approach the witness stand. Once you get there, if you'd be so kind to turn and face Sergeant Ingram, sworn as a witness.
Raise my hand. You swear firm testimony to the truth, the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Have a seat. State and spell your first and last name for the court.
My name is Tyrone Dennis, Tyrone, last name Dennis, Dennis.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Good afternoon, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Would you please tell the jury that if I'm not speaking loudly enough, just let me know. Would you please tell the jury where it is that you're currently working?
I currently work as the Director of School Safety for Rockwood School District back in St. Louis, Missouri.
How long have you worked there?
4 years.
And what are your responsibilities include as Director of School Safety for the Rockwood School District?
Rockwood, I supervise 32 schools, supervise 17 police officers, report directly to the superintendent of the school district.
Now, are you certified as a law enforcement officer in the state of Missouri?
I am.
And what is it that you have to do to become certified as a law enforcement officer in the state of Missouri?
I have to go through post training so to keep my Missouri post.
And is the post-training required for Missouri the same as the Peace Officer Standards and Training Council required for law enforcement officers in Georgia?
Yes.
Do you work in any extra law enforcement capacity within the community?
I do I have a nonprofit by the name of Clippers and Cops. I've been volunteering and mentoring for 20 years. I've been doing Clippers and Cops since March of 2018.
Would you tell the jury what Clippers and Cops is? Background.
Objection, should say.
Please tell the jury what it is.
I created Clippers and Cops in order to create empathy between law enforcement and the community. When I would go get my haircut, we would have some of the best conversations. And so I decided to grab not only law enforcement, but people from the community. And we basically meet once a month, every third Thursday of the month since 2018. And we basically have open dialogue conversations between the community and law enforcement.
When you say between the community and law enforcement, where all do you all have these open communications?
Each month we pick a barbershop. When we first started, we couldn't find any barbershops. And then now we have to do a lottery to pick a barbershop because everybody wants us to come.
Is it only in the state of Missouri?
No, it started here in Atlanta. And when I moved back, I started doing it back in St. Louis as well.
Before working in your current capacity, where did you work?
I worked for the City of Atlanta Police Department.
And what was your last position at the City of Atlanta Police Department?
I was a gang detective as well as a ATF task force officer.
When did you first start working with the City of Atlanta Police Department?
September 7th, 2004.
What was your first job there?
I was a recruit for 4 months. I went to the academy in December, graduated April of 2005. My first assignment was Zone 5 downtown. My assignment was the Boulevard, Old Fourth Ward area.
And when you say your assignment was the Zone 5 Boulevard, Old Fourth Ward area, what was your official title?
I was a patrol officer.
And what did you do as a patrol officer?
Answer 911 calls.
How long did you keep that position with APD?
6.5 years.
After 6.5 years, where did you start working within APD?
I went to Apex for 6 weeks. I then made detective and was assigned to the Zone 6 Criminal Investigations Division for about a year and a half.
Tell the jury what Apex is.
Apex was the new unit they created after disbanding of Red Dog. And I went over as in an investigative capacity.
And what types of crimes did you participate in investigating with Apex?
Everything from it was a violent crimes unit, so everything from murder down.
Now, you said you then were assigned as a CID detective to the
Correct.
Investigations Division?
Yes,
All right. And you worked there for how long?
about a year and a half.
What were your responsibilities as a criminal investigations detective?
General crimes, everything from robberies, carjackings, fraud, you name it.
Now, you said that you were also, did you say that you were also post-certified in Georgia while you worked as a law enforcement officer?
The entire time.
What did you have to do to be post-certified in Georgia?
Every year we had to take the required hours at the police academy or training classes that they told us we had to take.
What type of training classes did you take to maintain your post-certification?
We had to qualify with our service weapon. We had to go to in-service.
Slow down for me just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We had to qualify with our weapon each year. We had to take mandates, updates. If we got any type of updated training, that's when we would do it during in-service.
What would happen if you had lost your certification, your post-certification during your time as a police officer?
I would have either A, been put on the desk or B, fired.
Did you ever lose your post-certification?
No.
After you worked as a criminal investigations division detective for 1.5 years, where did you go within APD?
I got sent to the gang unit.
What year did you get sent to the gang unit?
I think that was May of 2013 or something.
Before May of 2013, would you tell the jury what, if any, experience you had had investigating criminal street gangs?
I had no experience investigating criminal street gangs.
How was it that you ended up in the gang unit without experience investigating criminal street gangs?
I was voluntold to go.
All right.
Look at Jay Apt's face here. He's tuning out. He's been zoning out. He's over it. But look at this, what he does right as he's getting this witness on the stand to say, I had no experience and I was voluntold to get on the gang unit.
What, if any, experience you had had investigating criminal street gangs?
I had no experience investigating criminal street gangs.
How was it that you ended up in the gang unit without experience investigating criminal street gangs?
I was voluntold to go.
All right. Now, are you originally from Georgia?
No, I'm born and raised in St. Louis.
What part of St. Louis?
I grew up in the Fountain Park, Hodemont Tracks neighborhood.
Now, I need you to
Fountain Park, Hodemont Tracks.
Now I need you to spell that for our Madam Court clerk, please.
Fountain, Fountain, Park, P-A-R-K.
The other part.
Hodemont, Hodimont, Tracks, Tracks.
Now, did you spend all of your formative years in that area?
Yes,
Did you go to high school there?
yes.
When did you leave?
When I left for college,
And Hodemont Park,
Hodemont Tracks.
Hodemont Tracks, please forgive me. Were there any gangs that you were aware of while you were coming up in Hodemont Tracks?
Oral, sir.
It's probably one of the worst areas in St. Louis. I grew up around gangs, dope, and guns.
Now, did you personally know any persons who were members of gangs in St. Louis?
Oh, yes.
Oral, sir.
And were they all, were they enemies, friends, family, or some combination?
Where I grew up, I played sports, and I had to know the lay of the land. Some of the people I grew up with, some of my family members, gangs was a part of the culture.
And did you ever become involved in gangs?
I did not.
How did you avoid it?
Sports. Basically, my family, my older siblings wouldn't allow me to get involved in that.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I'll sustain that objection.
Now, when you left Hodemont Tracks, where did you go?
I went to Lakeland College in Mattoon, Illinois.
And when you went there, did you have a particular major already picked out in mind?
I majored in criminal justice
Why did you major in criminal justice?
because I grew up around crime. I was kind of fluent.
Okay. What did you want to do with the criminal justice degree?
I want to go into the FBI.
Did you graduate?
I did.
And what degree did you receive?
I got an associate's in criminal justice,
After graduation, what year did you graduate? First?
99.
And after graduation, what did you do?
I transferred to the University of North Alabama where I double majored in criminal justice and sociology
Did you graduate from North Alabama?
in May of 02.
And what degrees did you receive?
A bachelor's of science in criminal justice and sociology.
What was your first job out of college?
I went to play professional basketball in Columbia, South America,
And how long did you do that?
off and on for 2 years.
And what did you do after you finished playing professional basketball?
I joined the Atlanta Police Department.
Did you know anyone in Atlanta?
I did not. Well, my roommate from college did.
So what brought you to the Atlanta Police Department?
I went to a recruiting fair in downtown St. Louis in May of 02 before I went to play ball.
Did you know what position you wanted to hold with the Atlanta Police Department when you first joined?
Not really.
Like, she goes through all this background and none of it is helpful. Like, if you're bringing in someone who has a super duper specialty, like, I'm thinking of like the Karen Reed trial where there was some woman that had experience identifying like animal bite marks, and she's identified hundreds of them from her time, her experience, and her career. Well, getting into how she has that experience, what brought her there, what study she did, what clinical work she did, is all very relevant to keep asking those questions. But for this, all these questions that she's asking, she's getting answers like, I don't know, I don't have any experience, I was voluntold. Like, and then she does this with every witness. So you get the vibe of that. Let's see. We're going to skip ahead of some of this foundational background information because it goes and goes and goes. So we'll go to when they're called for the sidebar or to approach to look at what they're about to try to tender.
2 Echo and 20 Echo.
It's like, yes, tell the jury he has no experience
We'll start with
and no
Sex
interest.
Exhibit 109 Echo.
You're still laughing.
Would you look at the area depicted in State's Exhibit without? State's Exhibit 109 Echo. Do you recognize that area depicted in State's Exhibit 109 Echo?
Yes.
And is this a fair and accurate representation? And Your Honor, State's Exhibit 109 Echo is for demonstrative purposes. Is this a fair and accurate representation of the way that this area looks around the time that you are describing working that extra job at Compound?
Yes.
April 25th?
Yes.
And is this a accurate Google image depiction of that area?
Yes.
Your Honor, for demonstrative purposes, the state tender State's Exhibit 109 Echo.
Gentlemen, lady, any objections to States 109 Echo?
No.
All right. States 109 Echo is admitted. You may publish as you see fit.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll go next to what's already been admitted as State's Exhibit 3 Echo. Do you recognize the area depicted in State's Exhibit 3 Echo?
Yes.
And is State's Exhibit 3 Echo an accurate Google image of the way that the area depicted in 3 Echo looked on April 25th, 2015?
Yes.
Do you recognize the area depicted in State's Exhibit 4 Echo?
Yes.
Thank you for
Is
gifting
this
someone
an
HVAC.
accurate depiction
Shout out
of the
to
area
HVAC.
surrounding Club Compound that you worked on April 25th, 2015?
Yes.
Your Honor, 6, 3 Echo, 4 Echo, and 5 Echo have all been admitted previously for demonstrative purposes.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize State's Exhibit 5 Echo?
Yes.
How do you recognize State's Exhibit 5 Echo?
What do you mean when you say how?
I mean, is it an accurate, have you seen this area before?
Yes, this is looking southbound on Brady going towards Marietta Street.
And is this an accurate Google image of the area that you were working at Club Compound on April 25th, 2015?
Yes.
Looking at State's Exhibit 6 Echo, the demonstrative that has already been admitted, do you recognize that area as well?
Yes.
Does that area accurately reflect where you were working on April 25th, 2015?
Yes.
Looking at State's Exhibit 22 Echo, do you recognize the area depicted in State's Exhibit 22 Echo?
Yes, other than the bike lanes and all that, that wasn't there.
All right. Does the area depicting Club Compound accurately reflect the way you recall it looking?
Yes.
April 2015? And looking at State's 20 Echo, does that area accurately reflect the way you recall Club Compound looking on April 25th, 2015?
Yes.
And again, Your Honor, with the exception of 109 Echo, the others have all been admitted previously. Your Honor, I'm now publishing State's Exhibit 109 Echo.
Well, that's because we approach this for a moment.
Yes.
All right, so they're going to do a sidebar. We'll see a few of these during the course of Dennis's testimony. I like that Better Days polo. It looks fuzzy. All right, they look like they're coming. Let me go back to where that body was covering the camera. So we're skipping the sidebar, silent footage. And I think that was like a squeal. I don't think that was the cushion squeak, you guys. We might need a separate counter. HVAC with another one. Thank you, HVAC for Dummies. HVAC is out here dropping sprinkles. Oh, and Here Comes Drama brings 5 more. Shout out to Here Comes Drama. And the court's still muted. It's not me. Do you guys want to do a squeal counter for the chair? I think that was just needing some DW40. I don't think it was the air in the cushion. We'll do a banner. We'll get a banner going. We'll call it a squeal today, because this change it up. So the court feed is just quiet while they're doing this. Maybe this was a media error. Because they're clearly talking. Do-do-do.
And down.
All right, so they look over that road and we get sound about here. So shout out to whatever happened there.
Put a deed in as well. And what did you do as you stood in that area?
I helped pull traffic with one of the valet workers.
Now, how did you help pull traffic? What were you doing?
As people would pull up, they would tell them the price for parking, whether they wanted to pay it or not. If they were going to pay it, they would jump out the car, they would jump in their car, they would move it. I would help them keep pulling the traffic, keeping it moving.
And where were the valet parking the cars?
They got a different lots way down here, and that they would basically keep people from walking, so they would run the car down there and then run back, or they had different runners, and then they had the valets that were taking the money.
All right, during the first couple of hours, was the crowd heavy, medium, light, or few?
It was packed.
And did you have any trouble? Did you have any altercations or anything that you had to attend to?
No.
And Angie Lee with the sprinkled gift membership.
Was there anyone else
Angie.
working in that area, John, that night?
All of us was positioned up and down the street. And so we were probably not far from each other, but I don't know, 25, 30 feet away from each other or something like that.
And were you all doing the same thing, directing traffic?
Correct. Or so we had people that were traffic officers, and then we had some officers that were standing over in this area. That's if you go to Exhibit 4E, if you look, that's the VIP entrance. So you would have officers standing there to help for people with tables and stuff like that, and to try to keep the traffic or keep the pedestrian traffic moving in that area also.
Can you help me out clear the screen and demonstrate on the monitor where it was that you just described with a piece of paper before?
This is gonna be the table entrance.
His finger looks
This is
really
where
long.
people tend to congregate
Doesn't it?
and wait on their parties to just who's getting the tables and stuff like that. And then they would have to go through security checkpoints to go through there. And then you have the general admission over on the other side. So they had checkpoints at both points and they had officers at each one.
Would you drop VIP on the area depicted on this replica of Stacy Exhibit 4E? All right. And for the record, is the drawing that you just made the markings on an exact duplicate of Stacy Exhibit 4E?
Yes,
Thank you. Now, this area, the compound located at 1008 Brady Avenue,
yes,
and is that in Fulton County?
yes.
Now, when did you first learn that Lil Wayne was set to appear?
Probably days prior.
Did you get any particular instruction days prior as it related to the job that night?
No,
He's all right. I'll overrule the objection.
When you first arrived, and Your Honor, I'm asking the next question, not for the truth of the matter, but for its effect on the listener, were you given any
All right,
instructions?
this is,
Objection to the speaking commentary, the basis of the question.
Oh,
I'm
holy
gonna sustain the
moly.
question.
Holy moly. 50 people just got freed from Rice Street. Oh my gosh. Rice Street. Guys, this is the only time you can positively shout out Rice Street. That's amazing, Rice Street. That is 50 new members. That's like 1/10 of the current chat. Thank you so much, Rice Street. And like I said, you guys, we don't compliment Rice Street on here, the actual Rice Street, but when Rice Street frees 50 people, makes 50 people green, we show some love. We get to shout out Rice Street, a rare opportunity. I'm so grateful. That is so generous of you. That is so generous. It feels weird to say, but shout out to Rice Street. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
question, just go ahead and pose it now.
When you arrived on April the 25th of 2015, were you given any particular instructions as it related to the Lil Wayne appearance at the compound? Offered not for, but for the effect on the listener.
All right, hold in. On both bases, Mr. Sharp as well as Mr. Adams. You can answer the question.
Were you given any particular instructions?
yes, every night when we get there, they would give us instructions on what was going on or different stuff like that.
This particular night, did you receive any particular instructions?
Yes,
What were they?
that if any, based on the turmoil between,
Not based on.
I sustain the objection, Mr. Foreman.
I don't need you to say based on anything. I just need to know what instruction you were given.
if it,
Oral, sir.
Just the instruction that you were given.
if anyone from YSL arrived at the club that night, they were not to be allowed inside the club.
Now, did you convey to, and was this instruction given to you by the club owner?
Yes, and the supervisor over us.
And how did you, if at all, did you convey you would be able to follow these instructions?
It wasn't, usually at the entrance, they deal with the people coming and going. I didn't work back there. I was out front, so I didn't really know how that was gonna be conveyed or not.
So did anything happen that was unusual that caused you to have to become a little bit more engaged with the crowd than you normally do?
Objection, Your Honor, vague.
I sustain the question, Mr. Foreman.
Did the club staff give you any specific names other than YSL to keep out?
No, and I was familiar through our investigation. We were,
Objection to this foundation, objection to hearsay.
Madam,
He's talking about his own personal knowledge, not what somebody told him.
I'll overrule the objection.
You may.
at the date and time of this incident, we were almost 5 months into an investigation. The thing about myself, people,
Before you go further, let me ask you this.
Cool.
Were you given any specific names to keep out other than YSL?
just young thugs people.
Okay. At the time, did you know who Young Thug was?
Objection.
Cases.
I would like to approach that motion.
All right.
And for the listeners in the chat, I also, if you weren't here earlier, I just dropped the link to the GoFundMe for Quindarious Zacharym. Again, if you're late, he was arrested on Friday through a material witness warrant. So the only reason he's arrested is to ensure his testimony. They're securing him for testimony. Hopefully they put him on the stand on Monday and don't just, like, who even knows? But yeah, they held him. They got him right after he was leaving the hospital for a blood treatment. It seems like he has sickle cell. And the GoFundMe was started by 2 of his family members. So they're raising money to help with different legal expenses. And it's just like a crazy thing to think about. We know that they've done this with witnesses before. They held Woody in contempt, which is a little bit different than a warrant for a material witness. But same end goal, right? Get somebody to testify. And they're going to have this guy on the stand. They're going to have Quindarious Zacharym on the stand. He gets his blood treatment and then is held in Rice Street Jail Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday morning before he comes in to testify. Like, and honestly, I'm not sure that's a good strategy for the state, because if I was Quindarious Zacharym, screw you and all of your questions that you're going to ask me. Like, that's it. But the state seems to think that that was the right way for them to go. So that's where we are with that. I'll do the GoFundMe one more time because the chat is moving quickly. Zacharym. I guess GoFundMe is like one word kind of, right? I don't know. But there's the link again since the chat is moving quickly. And I'm going to hop over to... I'm going to hit the play button. I'm going to hop over and pin it in YouTube. I can't do it from StreamYard. Okay, so now it is pinned at the top. I'm going to forward through the sidebar. Okay, super long sidebar. But what else is new? And hold on, this is, you know, FFS, your name comes into play so often. You know, I try to keep it vanilla on this stream, but you give me the opportunity to say FFS. But FFS, aptly named for this moment, says, that's absolutely the most dirtiest, sickest move. He's sick, getting blood work done, and you hold him in Rice Street to force him to testify. And I would do the same thing on the stand. You put me on the stand in a circumstance like that, and now I do not have experience with dealing with like a blood disease myself, but I know someone who does, and when they go to the hospital, they're like out of commission even when they're released. For like, I don't even want to say several days, but for like weeks of days. So I don't think he's going to be in a pleasant mood or healthy condition on Monday. Even if he was just sitting at home all weekend, it'd probably still be rough. But you put him in Rice Street? Like, it's just stupid. It's just stupid.
Huh? Okay, all right.
Retired Detective Dennis, on April the 25th of 2015, had you heard of Young Thug?
Yes,
All right. Did you recognize him on sight? Would you recognize him by sight?
yes,
Had you heard of his music?
yes,
Had you listened to his music?
yes,
Had you ever met him personally?
no,
At some point during the night, did you see any persons who fit the description of those people you were told to keep out?
yes.
Do you remember around what time it was?
Late in the evening, 1:32.
Do you remember what time the club closed?
Club closed at about 3.
Around 1:30 or 2. Could you tell the jury what the crowd had become like around the area of the compound? Was it still as thick as it was when it first opened?
It's thicker. So now you got the people that are in, the ones that are coming out, you have the people that couldn't get in, and you have some that just are trying to hang out.
When was it that you first noticed in terms of what it was that was happening? People that caused you to be on alert?
Well, I'm always on alert as a police officer, but with the background into everything that was going on and while pulling traffic, a vehicle pulled up. And when the vehicle pulled up, anytime I deal with guys that I know from work, I call them by their government name. And so I
Shout
call
out
to
to
them by
Rice
their
Street
government name.
for another 20.
Do you remember what kind of vehicle it was that pulled up?
Not off the top.
Do you remember who it was that you saw and recognized and called by their, that you put his government name?
Demikian Garland.
Rice Street in the chat, not the Rice Street jail. Shout out to Rice Street in the chat for another 20. Holy moly. Let me update this banner before I forget. That is 78 new members. Rice Street says they're trying to get rid of the nut juice. Oh boy. And we're talking about Demikian Garlington. Remember, that's the other Lil D. The other Lil D. Demikian Garlington is, he was actually indicted in this. Quindarious Zacharym was not.
Garlington and Shannon Stillwell.
And do you recognize either of those persons as being in the courtroom today?
I think Shannon Stillwell is. Shannon Stillwell Jackson or whatever.
Where is Shannon Stillwell located in the courtroom? When she married by Marco?
What is that, a gray sweater vest or something with dreads with glasses?
And who is he seated next to on either side of the room?
Mr. Sharp and the blonde haired gentleman next to him.
Mr. Bobby, you have blonde hair.
Hey, what? No disrespect, sir. I ain't trying to disrespect the hair. My bad. What I thought it was.
With
Sorry.
the record reflect that the witnesses identified.
You mean Mr. Watts?
No.
Yes, it will reflect that, he's identified.
What color is his hair? Oh,
Thank you.
my bad. That's a color. That's great.
So, Ms. Ross, thank you for that. When you, before I go any further, were Mr. Garlington and Mr. Stillwell the only two people in the car that you saw?
No,
Do you know who else was in the car with them?
the driver was Trontavious Stevens, or AKA Lil Tick.
Did you know Trontavious Stevens before that night?
I knew his face, never met him.
Do you recall whether they were the only car that you needed to pay attention to at the time you noticed them? Was that the only car?
No, it was an entourage of cars. It was several cars.
And how do you know, how are you able to make that determination it's an entourage of cars as opposed to just individual cars?
Because it seemed as if they were all following each other.
I stand in directions of you.
Better yet, describe how the cars were traveling.
They were all traveling southbound on Brady. If you go to Exhibit 5E,
All right, we're on 5E.
this is southbound. This is going southbound on Brady. They were all coming this direction, and it was just lines of cars. They were all together.
Now, had you described earlier that many patrons were trying to park and were coming along Brady Avenue?
So traffic is going in both directions. You have hundreds of people on both sides of the streets. You got people standing around. It's just a lot of people, a lot going on.
And so what about this particular set of cars caused you to describe it as an entourage? Just like
Oral, sir.
you may answer, please. What caused you to describe
The
it?
valet actually mentioned it. He was like,
Without talking about the valet or what someone else said, based on your own observations.
once I saw the individuals that I knew, I began looking in every car that was coming. I was standing right there.
Okay. How far were you from the cars?
I'm right on the yellow line, pretty much. We try to stand in the middle so we don't get hit.
So if I walk towards you, tell me to stop when I get as close as you were.
About right there.
So how many feet would you call this from you?
2, 3.
Okay. Were the car windows that you saw containing people that you knew up or down?
They would have to let the window down in order for the valet to tell them what the price or if they wanted to park or not.
All right. And was it then that you were able to see inside or were you able to look inside before they left?
When they let the window down, I can look directly into the car.
What, if anything, did you say to Mr. Stillwell when you saw him, Mr. Garland and Mr. Steve?
I said, Mr. Demekion Garlington and Shannon Stillwell, how are you? And Lil Tick said, how the hell 12 know your name?
Now, when you speak of 12, what are you talking about?
That's slang for police.
Oral, sir.
And did you say anything else?
I did not.
What happened after you called their names?
They just looked. They didn't really say anything.
Did you give any instructions?
Have a good night.
What happened next?
Continued to pull traffic throughout the evening. Stood in the middle of the street pulling traffic.
Did you, at any point, attempt to turn the cars themselves around as they drove along Brayton?
No,
Why not?
that wasn't the assignment. If we would have did that, we would have messed up the traffic's already bumper to bumper. If we would have did anything like that, we would have made it even worse.
How many other vehicles did you see contain people that you recognized?
I didn't necessarily see any that I recognized.
You didn't see any people that you recognized or vehicles that you recognized?
The vehicles that they were driving at that point, I'm walking down.
Okay.
So I'm not really, it's not like every car's pulling up and I'm looking in and trying to see who it is.
At any point, did you see another person? Did you ever see a person that you knew as PeeWee?
Yes,
At what point did you see the person you knew as PeeWee?
while still working traffic on my post, I was familiar with them.
Do you know how long after it was that you saw Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Garland that you saw a person you knew as PeeWee?
Close proximity in time. I wasn't, like I said, there was a lot going on. It's not like I was really keeping track of time or something.
And I'm not going to hold you to specifics, but when you say close proximity, are you talking an hour, a minute?
5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe.
I'm going to show you what has already been admitted as Stacy Exhibit number 32, Echo. Do you recognize Stacy Exhibit 32, Echo, the person depicted inside?
Yes,
And who do you recognize 32, Echo to be?
Jimmy Winfrey. At the time, I knew him as Roscoe or PeeWee.
I'm going to advance to 32, Echo.
Now, remember at the beginning of the stream when I said we're going to hear a lot about people that aren't in this courtroom? Well, this is largely going to focus on Jimmy Winfrey or PeeWee Roscoe. And PeeWee Roscoe just made the news in the last couple of days for being part of like a 30+ person bust. Tons of drugs, paraphernalia, and cash were recovered. Yeah, but he's not one of the people in this courtroom with the 6 co-defendants. So we're about to hear a lot about someone else that's not in this courtroom once again. And also, big shout out here. You know, again, I just said I always love the opportunity to use FFS's name to still keep it vanilla, but I can use his name as an excuse to say FFS. And he says, Kat, I'm happy to help you out in any way through using my name, because I'm pretty sure we're all thinking FFS, whether it's me or actually thinking FFS. So thank you so much for the release, the vicarious release of frustration with some of the things that happened in this case. And then also a big shout out to the mods. Big shout out to the mods. You guys can use all caps anytime to shout out the mods. That's the one exception to the outside of the 60-second all caps vent session. Always love to see the mods in here, and I'm so glad you guys love the mods too. Angie Lee also suggests it'd be great to see opening statements again. Now I have to double check because I don't know if I've seen the stream published yet, but I do think Dear Will Christian is... I know he wants to look at Mr. Williams, who was a short opening statement. And I forget, I think maybe Jay Apt might have been the other statement he wanted to look at. So I'm going to go and look, and I'll drop it in the chat if I see Dear Will Christian has already scheduled that. I think he said he was going to do it today. But if you guys want to do some opening statements, we can go through them. Love's were ridiculous. Love's opening statement was ridiculous, and she made 2 boo-boos she wasn't supposed to make in like the first 10 minutes. And then Brooklyn, thank you for becoming a member. We're going to add you to the banner. Brooklyn initiating herself. 79. And we'll get this playing. I'm going to get that link. I'll check for Dear Will Christian on those opening statements a later stream today and drop it in the chat for you.
Could you take the markings off the screen? Is the person we're looking at the person that you recognize that night? Is he?
Yes. Yes.
Do you recall what kind of vehicle Mr. Winfrey was in that night?
Later that night, I saw him he was in a white Camaro.
Now, Camaros, are you familiar with those cars?
I know cars a little bit.
All right. Do you know what particular model of Camaro he was in?
Not at that time. Later on, I learned what model.
Did you see anyone else later on that you recognized that night?
Yes.
Who?
Walter Murphy.
Now, how did you come to see Mr. Murphy?
So as the night is progressing, while on post, another officer basically asked us to come down by where the tour buses was parked at. As we got down there, I seen a green Explorer parked. If you go to I'll put you guys up there. You don't have
We've got
the
more
picture, but
pictures
if you
than
look
reports.
at Exhibit 5E, or if you can pull that up,
Okay, 5E.
my marker. No.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, 5E.
Down here, that's where the buses were down, kind of there. And then there was a green Explorer parked on the street. Another officer basically said, hey, can y'all come down by the buses? Something about to happen. And so as we come down there, I see an individual take a gun out and put it on the tire of the green Explorer. Once he took the gun out, I basically took another individual and pushed him into him and grabbed the gun and pulled my service weapon. Upon pulling my service weapon, a female that was standing there said, why is this officer pulling his gun on me? And I held the gun up and I was like, y'all need to get on. And everybody started scattering. The individual that put the gun on the tire, I didn't know him at that time. That was later to be determined to be Walter Murphy. When he literally took off running from us. And when he took off running, we start, just a picture is chaos. And so we're trying to pull traffic. We're trying to get everybody away and we're trying to keep from getting hurt ourselves. As I'm standing there trying to help pull people and push where they need to go, I see an individual that I recognize by the name of Quindarious Zacharym. We call him Sick D. When he walked up, I basically said, hey, D, you need to go home. He said, man, you don't know me. I said, the last four of your social is this, your date of birth is this, your mom's maiden name is this. He said, I'm gone. So once he left, I then went back to my post because they needed me to help pull traffic. When I walked back to my post, as I'm pulling traffic, Officer Finney is telling me to stop the white.
I stand aggression.
Two things, Your Honor. To protect the listener and to instruction and follow so. What was Finney telling you to do?
Stop the white Camaro.
And did you attempt to stop the white Camaro?
I did not.
Why not?
Because the car had hit the gas and I wasn't going to get hit.
Was the white Camaro coming towards you or going away from you?
The white Camaro was basically coming northbound on Brady towards Alvin.
Would you draw an arrow showing the direction that the white Camaro was coming? And using the 5E duplicate that you have already marked on, would you please indicate where the green Explorer was?
The green Explorer is the X down the street.
Would you put GE next to it? And would you indicate where the tour buses were generally in relation to the green Explorer?
I just dropped the link to DWC's channel in the chat, you guys. So give a sub over there.
It's next to the building though.
Okay.
Holy moly, Rice
How
Street.
close were you to Walter Murphy?
Rice Street. Rice Street just gave another 10. So there's 10 new slimes in the chat. This is going to be a record amount of people saying the phrase Rice Street in one day. Shout out to Rice Street. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your support and generosity. Look at that. Look at the love. Again, this is the only time you can positively shout out Rice Street. Thank you so much for gifting memberships in the chat. And I've got to be more clear. I can't just be like Rice Street setting people free. I was confusing people earlier. My bad. My bad. This is the Honorable Rice Street in the chat. Releasing gray members and turning them green. Let me update this banner. Holy moly, we are at 89 members. 89. There we go. And again, also, I don't know what you guys have planned for later, but I swear Dear Woke Christian said he was going to do an opening statements rewatch stream today at some point. I just don't see it scheduled yet. So DWC's link is in the chat as well. And you guys, thank you again for showing so much love. Every time somebody gifts a membership or sends a super chat or enters a chat and just says hi, it's always so great how friendly you guys are to each other. I like having a nice chat. I don't want to be someone where people don't want to raise their hand in the chat and speak up because they're afraid the chat will stomp on them. And you guys are so welcoming, and I so appreciate you guys. We're going to hit this play. Oh, wait. FFS. FFS says, a shout out to Rice Street, not the nut juice one. Yeah, that could be the distinguishing factor there. We got the Rice Street in the chat and then the Rice Street with the nut juice. That will be the distinguisher. And no, this is not Squirrel Brain, you guys, but he might as well be. This is Detective Dennis, Tyrone Dennis. Detective Thorpe is on the next 10 witnesses that are supposed to be called. So you'll get to see Squirrel Brain in action soon enough. But this is a rewatch from Detective Dennis, and he's supposed to be called back to the stand too. So here we go.
I have put the gun on the wheel of it.
2 people between us.
2 people?
2 people away.
Did you see who was inside the green floor? Who had driven there?
I saw who was standing outside of the green floor.
Who was standing outside the green floor?
One of Young Thug's sisters. Either Dora or Dolly. I don't know them apart.
How did you know that it was one of his sisters?
From previous investigation.
Now, I'm going to show you what has been already admitted as State's Exhibit 6, Charlie, State's Exhibit 11, uniform, State's Exhibit 12, uniform, State's Exhibit 19, uniform.
Thank you, Blue-Eyed Hillbilly, for becoming a member. Got blue eyes, but you look good in
State's
green.
Exhibit 5, Charlie. And I'm going to ask you if you recognize the people depicted, and we'll start with State's Exhibit 6, Charlie.
You said, do I recognize them?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. If you would clear the screen off, we're going to go to 6, Charlie. All right. Who is it that you recognize in State's Exhibit 6, Charlie, depicted on the screen right now?
The front person is Antonio Sledge, aka Moontunk. The individual behind him is Walter Murphy, aka DK. I don't know.
DK on the screen. My eyes are not great. Please tell Jerry what you just wrote.
I recognize that as his Young Thug sisters.
Okay. Now, when you say sisters, for the record, are you indicating 2 particular people on this exhibit, State 6, Charlie?
The one with the hat on, for sure. The second one, resembles or could be.
Okay. Who among these people in 6, Charlie, do you recall seeing on April 25th, 2015?
Walter Murphy and the sister with the hat on.
Okay. I'm showing you State's Exhibit 11 uniform that has already been admitted as evidence. Do you recognize the person depicted in State's 11 uniform?
Yes.
How? Just by name, who are you?
Demikian Garlington and Trontavious Stevens.
All right. If you would clear the screen, I'm going to move to State's Exhibit 11 uniform. Which person do you recognize as, after clear the screen? Demikian Garlington. Would you put a D over that person? And Trontavious Stevens. T. Okay. And are those the same 2 people that you saw in the vehicle with Mr. Stillwell?
Yes.
Showing you State's Exhibit 12 uniform that's already been admitted as evidence. Do you recognize the people depicted in 12 uniform?
Yes.
Who do you recognize as the people?
Antonio Sledge, Shannon Stillwell, and Trontavious Stevens.
Advancing the slide to 12 uniform, you clear the screen and tell the jury who it is that you recognize as each one of those persons. Antonio Sledge, is that what you're writing on the screen?
Yes.
Now, for the record, please describe who you have identified in this photograph.
Antonio Sledge, aka Moontunk, and then Shannon Stillwell Jackson, and then Trontavious Stevens, aka Tick.
And from left to right, what is each person wearing, so the record?
Sledge is the one with the dark hoodie on. Shannon is the one in the middle. Tick is the one in the red hoodie.
Now, this question is for those who started watching this trial late, around the time that Judge Glanville acted a fool, held these ex partes, got called out, and held Brian Steele in contempt. Are you tired of seeing this photo yet? Have you already felt like you are seeing the same photos over and over again? This question is for people that tuned into the trial late. Do you feel like it's deja vu? And also, shout out here to FFS, who says, with all the memberships being passed out, there's 792 watching, but 309 likes. Your lucky cat isn't like me and do lockouts. Do better, hit like it's free. Yeah, Rice Street's gonna back it up. Rice Street's gonna start holding more people. I wouldn't lock people out for not hitting the like button, but if you'd be so kind to hit the like button, that would be great. It's free 99. Thank you, FFS, for the reminder and the support.
Showing you State's Exhibit 19 uniform that has already been admitted as evidence. Do you recognize the people depicted in State's Exhibit 19 uniform?
Yes, some of them.
Which people do you recognize in 19 uniform?
Quindarious Zacharym, Walter Murphy, and Trontavious Stevens.
Okay. All right. As we look at 19 uniform, hold on, I'm going to expand just a little bit. Would you describe where the people that you recognize are inside this photograph by an article of clothing and by writing their initial over their name, over their face? Who are you drawing on now?
I put a QZ for Quindarious Zacharym and DK for Walter Murphy.
What is Quindarious Zacharym wearing in the picture?
A gray hoodie, red pants.
And where is Walter Murphy in relation to Quindarious Zacharym?
He's kneeling in front of him.
And where is Trontavious Stevens in relation to Quindarious Zacharym?
He's in the middle with the look like a red backpack.
Red backpack?
Yes.
What happened after, at what point rather, was it that you saw and spoke to Mr. Zacharym in relation to the time that you saw the person you called PeeWee? How many minutes after?
Zacharym?
Yes.
I saw PeeWee earlier in the night. At this point, I didn't see PeeWee.
So approximately how long after you saw PeeWee was it before you saw Zacharym?
I don't, could have been 30 minutes, could have been an hour, I'm not sure.
Was Zacharym on foot or inside the car?
I saw him on foot.
Who else did you see on foot?
Walter Murphy.
At some point, did you notice any particular group of people making their way towards the club that you sought to stop?
I saw people congregating on the corner of 11th and Brady, but we didn't necessarily go stop them. I had a specific assignment of pulling traffic.
At the time that you first saw Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Garlington, and Mr. Stevens, do you know whether or not Lil Wayne had come out of the compound?
No clue.
Do you know whether or not his tour buses had left?
They had not.
Were you paying attention to the point at which Lil Wayne came out of the compound?
Not at all. Wasn't my assignment.
I'm going to show you what has already been admitted as.
And remember, he was called to testify after. So earlier on the same day, we had the driver of the bus on the stand. He was testifying. And the 911 dispatcher lady that we heard from the other day. But the tour bus shooting, the driver has a civil suit out, and he named Jeffrey Williams in the civil lawsuit. And one of the questions that Keith Adams asked him on cross was, Do you know that Jeffrey Williams was in another state performing at the time of this incident? But the witness the state called to testify and prove that there was conspiracy, who was suing civilly Jeffrey Williams for damages, didn't know that Jeffrey Williams was in another state when everything happened. So just some context, and then they call Detective Dennis after that mess.
Today's exhibit 30 Echo. Do you recognize the area pictured in 30 Echo?
Yes,
How do you recognize that area? What do you recognize that area to be from?
that is, I believe, to be 10th Street and Brady. And that's where the valet would take some of the cars and different parking and stuff is going on right there.
How far from that area was were the tour buses when you recognized people walking towards them?
Not far.
When you say not far, what do you?
Feet.
Okay. So when you say that the buses were feet away, do you recall exactly where they were parked?
From my recollection, if we can go to one of those other pictures.
The pictures in front of you, which one accurately depicts the journey you recall from?
Why is he shuffling the pictures like this? He's like,
3E or 5 is probably gonna be the best picture. And if you look where, if you can pull it up.
You said 3E or 5? Which one?
Either one, they're the same, I think.
We'll go back.
Hmm?
We're gonna go back.
he's like literally what I do when I'm trying to look busy. Just like shuffle my papers around, make it look like I'm really looking at something. Like, what are you doing? And shout out to Ike here. Ike here is looking out for the jury. Ike says, we, the jury, award ourselves and anyone that watched this farce of a trial compensatory damages in the amount of $20 million. Yeah, wouldn't it be hilarious if we have, like, jury nullification become, you know, a civil judgment, a monetary judgment? I would love to see it. I would love to see jury nullification in this case. I really would.
Do you see the area in 3E?
Not really, but if you,
Let's go to Bobby then. You see the area in Bobby.
it's about the same.
Generally, several areas you remember bus being.
All right. On my right, my pen. I need my pen. I need the pen thing.
The closer corner?
Go to the what?
Bottom corner.
Oh, all right.
Okay. After you saw the person called PeeWee, when you saw the person called PeeWee, after Benny told you to stop the vehicle, did you see anything inside the vehicle that caused you concern?
No, I basically moved myself out the way.
And did you run any kind of traces on the gun that you picked up that you saw Baltimore Murphy?
Eventually,
And was that gun reported stolen?
yes.
I'm going to object to the hearsay and ask that extreme.
Hey, Madam, care to respond?
Your Honor, this information was previously,
I'm going to rule the objection, Mr. Adams.
Shout out to Angie Lay for another sprinkle. Angie Lay, it's always
At
my
some
favorite,
point,
just sniping
later
away in
on
the
in the
chat.
night, tell the jury what happened after you saw Mr. Zachary and had observed a person called PeeWee, DK, and Bud Sisters.
Everybody pretty much started going on their way. And then at that point, it was the end of the night. So we were trying to pull traffic to get everybody out. like I said earlier, it was kind of chaotic. When Officer Finney basically was down the street, so I'm saying stop that car, I couldn't really hear what he was saying. And once I did hear what he was saying, the driver, I didn't necessarily know who was driving, but when he hit the gas, of course, I moved out the way. At that point, two of other units that were working were on motorcycles. So they literally gave the bus an escort away from the compound so that they can go. Once they gave them the escort away, we're still dealing with the traffic and everything that's going on. At some point, security, somebody that was a part of Lil Wayne's security team or something stayed behind. And he came running out to where we were standing. It was like they're shooting.
Without saying what he said, can you tell the jury approximately how long it was after Lil Wayne's bus left that you saw a member of his security detail come out and speak?
15, 20 minutes maybe.
After that person came out and spoke, did you do anything as it relates to Lil Wayne, the people who weren't allowed in, anything at all?
At that point, everybody's going their own separate ways. We are dealing with the crowd. The two officers that gave the escort are friends of ours. So of course, when we heard about shooting, we called to check on them. They weren't answering, so we started getting worried about our fellow officers. Eventually, they pulled back up to the location.
How long after they left was it that they pulled back up to the location?
I'm not sure. Probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something.
And by this time, is it the 26th or is it still the 25th of April?
It's the next day, but it's still the same night, basically. It's after midnight.
And who are those two officers that you knew? Do you recall?
Sergeant Wade Burris and Al Watkins.
Your Honor, may I approach? Who's a member of this?
You may.
Thank you so much to Army Nurse. Good to see you on this Sunday, Army Nurse. Thank you so much for letting someone become a member of the channel. Super nice of you.
Do I need to go?
Oh, he's trying to get out of there. He's like, oh, all right, I'll just sit here. Just hang out a little bit. He like instantly slumped as soon as he realized he could stay or had to stay. And then shout out to Black Butterfly, gifting another membership here in the chat. Appreciate everybody that's gifting the memberships today. Super, super generous. And again, it's way more fun than, you know, just nothing. The chat gets to participate when they get gifts. And hey, Sheila's Fantasy, welcome to a Sunday Rewind. Okay, and they are going to the seal for a long time.
Just wanted to recap. We had just a brief conversation in the state, Ms. Love and Mr. Apt, in terms of scheduling, where the court just asked a little bit about what time or what we would go till to today. I indicated that we'll probably stop somewhere around between 5 and 10 after 5. And we'll call it a day for today. So, and then I believe that the state was going to get in some discussion about with Mr. Apt about what was Detective Dennis was going to testify to. So, Ms. Love, do you want to add to that? And then I'll let Mr. Apt respond.
Yes, Judge.
Was that the sum and substance of our conversations, counsel? I'm going to let you augment that, but is that what we covered at the bench?
That was exactly.
Okay, all right.
That was exactly what was covered. And the only thing that Mr. Apt asked was whether retired Detective Dennis would be covering this act or other acts within the indictment at this time. And what I had said was that he will touch on in explaining what he had to do and how he became more involved with this particular act, but he will be called back to talk about the acts in turn.
And the court recommended that we wait until such time as we could have this discussion with Mr. Apt. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding. He's going to be called back another time to discuss about other aspects.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So that's today. And then tomorrow, councils will meet. I'll have you all come. I'll tell our jurors they need to be here for 9:30, and we'll commence and make sure we're all here by 9:45 for a week, so we can start at 10:00 hours. All right. Okay.
And we'll be going to 5:30 tomorrow to 5:30.
Okay, let's move it on.
Somewhere between we take up.
These are some longer days, by the way. And big shout out again to Rice Street. And yes, we're doing capitals for Rice Street. Put some respect on the Rice Street in our chat. The Honorable Rice Street. Thank you again so much. That's incredible, Rice Street. That's like, that's so many memberships already. You did 50, 20, so 70, up to 80, up to 90. You've gifted 90 memberships today. Holy moly. Holy moly to Rice Street. Holy Rice Street moly. Thank you so much. And Kiana, a friend of the chat, someone I love to hang out with in other channels when I'm lurking and working. I see Kiana all over. Love to chat with Kiana. Glad you were here with me today and super appreciative you just gifted 10 as well. So I think Kiana is a familiar face to several people in here. Kiana might be new. Kiana has great commentary, very sharp memory and recall, and super sweet. So say hey to Kiana either here or next time you see her in another channel. Yeah, we're getting all the holy molies in the chat. And remember, guys, if you want to be eligible to receive a membership, you do have to click the little symbol next to where you chat, the money symbol, and enable your received gift membership settings. And then good morning to Laura. Thank you so much for all the generosity from you guys today. And we're going to get back into this. You see how we got through a lot of this already. We are almost done with the first part of Direct. Rice Street, stop it. Oh my God, that's 100. Rice Street gifted 100 memberships today. Thank you so much, Rice Street. That is super crazy nice. This is, wow, it's packed. Yeah, we're packing it up in here. Well, the joke is, you know, when Rice Street gifts memberships, we're releasing people from Rice Street. So there's just a bunch of us outside waiting for a ride. Like, we're free, come get us. Thank you so much, Rice Street. Holy moly. And then David Cox with the positivity here. Love being Cat Chat Gang member. That's right, the Honorable Chat. We are glad you're here. Let me update this banner.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. All right, madam, you may recommence the examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just going to say detective in short for now, okay?
That's fine.
I'm going to show you what has already been admitted as State's Exhibit 27 Echo, and it is also on the screen to your left and behind you. Do you see in 27 Echo the area where the bus was parked when you talked about Walter Murphy putting the gun on the wheel of the ring floor?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna hand you another exhibit, also labeled 27 Echo. Is this an exact duplicate of State's Exhibit 27 Echo that's already in there?
Yes.
Would you take the marker and put LWB in the place where the buses were parked? And would you place a GE in the area where the Green Explorer was at the time you saw Mr. Murphy put the gun on it? And would you just put TD at the very bottom? All right. And would you do on the screen what you drew on the duplicate of State's Exhibit 27? Draw on the screen. Thank you. Now, Detective Dennis, at some point, that night, did you know you were gonna have to end up being involved in a shooting?
Me?
You.
No.
During the time that you had worked the compound the previous 10 years, have you had to investigate further incidents like the one that occurred on April 26th?
Objection, relevance.
I stand objection.
Withdraw, thank you. At some point after the early morning hours of April 26th, did you have to write a report, incident report of this event?
I did.
What occurred that caused you to need to write an incident report?
Because the incident, basically, once I got home or that morning, I look at social media like everybody else. I'm looking at TMZ, and I see the story about the bus being shot.
I stand objection.
All right. Did you see media accounts detailing a shooting?
Yes.
It goes,
Hold on, I'm gonna sustain Mr. Matthews' objection. Who else had an objection?
You'll be saying objection.
All right, sustained. You can rephrase.
thank you. Why did you write a report?
Because once I was aware of the situation that was going on and
What situation?
the shooting of the bus,
Uh-huh.
I made contact with the supervisor from the Zone 2 precinct where when Sergeant Burrs called to check on to see if there was a shooting, I reached out to the supervisor to find out who was it on the city of Atlanta or somewhere else. I was made aware that the incident was not on the city of Atlanta, but they were actually in Cobb County.
Okay. So ordinarily, do you do incident reports related to crimes that occur in Cobb County?
No,
So why is it that you ultimately ended up writing a report on this incident?
because I knew that Cobb County would not be familiar with everything that was going on. To them, it would just be another random shooting.
Now, when you say to them, it would be another random shooting, had you prior to April 25th and 26th of 2015 been working on any other related matters or shootings related to the persons you recognized that night?
Oh, yes.
All right. And was that in your capacity as a detective with the gang unit?
Yes. Yes.
Did you, in your report, document that there were 25 to 30 individuals with?
Objection, Your Honor.
Basis.
Hearsay, out of court statement, by my testimony here today.
Full rule, sir.
It's also in.
I'll sustain this lead, sir.
Did you document in your report seeing a certain number of individuals as it relates to YSL at the compound?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately how many people it was that you documented seeing?
About 20 to 30.
How many?
20 to 30 people that I saw that night.
Okay. And in your report, did you document what you saw them do?
Objection, Your Honor, improper impeachment based on this report.
Full rule, sir.
Did you document what you saw those persons doing that were affiliated?
Yes, I wrote a police report in reference to what happened that night.
Okay. And as you sit here today, do you recall what you observed them doing?
Yes.
What was it that you observed them doing?
I observed, like I said previous, the car arriving.
You was in essence, just, it said, like I said previously.
I'm a standing objection.
Before seeing the people you recognized, specifically Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Garlington, Mr. Stevens, how would you describe the general atmosphere of the crowd as you observed it?
It was one of the busier nights. You could feel tension in the air.
Was that before, during, or after you observed?
This was probably,
Basis.
Just in the place of the question she said before they showed up.
What's the base to your objection, sir?
Ask me.
Full rule, sir.
Object, that's speculation. I don't know what tension in the air is.
I'll sustain as the form. You can rephrase.
What, if anything, did you observe about the crowd as it relates to the demeanor of the crowd before seeing Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Garlington, Mr. Stevens?
it was pretty much a typical night. Like it's a inner city nightclub. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of people doing a lot of different things. The whole thing for us was, like I do every Saturday night, is try to keep the peace and make sure everybody have a good time and make sure I go home safe as well.
Did you become more alert after seeing Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Robinson, and Stevens, or did you remain?
Well, I was Mr. Sharp, leading. I stand as one.
Did your attention span remain the same after you saw Mr. Stillwell, Burlington, and Stevens?
Yes.
And how would you describe your attention to the persons you were directing?
I still did my assignment, but I'm always observant of trying to be observant of what's going on. Like I said before, it's a lot going on. It's an inner city nightclub. Like things can go from 0 to 100 in the matter of seconds. I'm always trying to be observant, also trying to pull traffic and keep everything flowing.
Now, this is something that you'll actually hear, like DUI cops will say this type of thing because they're not supposed to entrap people when they pull people over for DUIs. But when there's a nightlife event or there's a bar that's busy and they put patrol cars around the outside, when that cop has to come testify, they'll say things like, oh, we never knew. We were there because we heard there might be fights, or we heard that someone there might be something that we need to be there to make sure doesn't happen. Because they're giving themselves a circumstance to be there without being there for the sake of telling people to get in their cars, leave, go home, and then when they start driving, they pull them over and just try to look for an excuse to arrest somebody. So what he's saying here is not really unique to, like, him and this case.
The 20 to 30 people that you described seeing, what direction did you see them, if any at all, walk or drive or move towards?
If you go to 5E or the picture from 11th and Brady, they started to congregate and basically click up on that corner.
All right, 5E is on the screen. And if you would give me the 5E that you previously drew on over here, don't get it mixed up. Thank you. Put 20 to 30 at the location you say they begin to congregate, and then also draw that on the screen. Did I hear you use the phrase click up, or am I hearing?
I did say click up.
What is that?
Congregate, a bunch of people congregating together.
Okay. And can you describe on the screen, draw on the screen the direction you saw them beginning to travel?
I didn't necessarily see any of them travel. I just saw them on the corner. Like I said, at this point through the course of the night, I'm working traffic in this area. So I can see right there, of course. It wasn't until Officer Booker told us to come down by the buses when I made my own way down to the buses myself. I wasn't necessarily paying attention. They weren't the only people that were out there.
Did you instruct them to do anything?
No. Earlier in the night when I saw Mr. Winfrey, we shook hands. And I said, good to see you, good to see you. I was like you got some sense and keep going.
Did anyone with you instruct the group to keep moving?
Not that I know
Do you recall writing in your report of advising the group to keep moving?
If I can see my report, it's been about 9 years.
And we'll just label it. Showing you what has been previously provided to the defense. And for purposes of the record, I'll leave this not for admissions, just for refreshing reflection, as 113 Echo Romeo. Showing you Stacy at 113 Echo Romeo. For purposes of refreshing your memory, is this the report that you prepared for this incident?
Yes.
And what was the incident number of the report?
151451047.
And would you just look to page second page. Page 3, middle of the page, ballots. Amazing. This portion without reading out loud. Did you document any efforts to keep the group moving along?
Yes,
When you write a report, what is the purpose of writing a report?
to document actual recollection of what you remember from the incident.
And was the report documented closer in time to the incident occurring?
Yes,
And does it accurately refresh your memory about what the group was advised to do?
yes.
And so what was the group advised to do?
Sure, let's, hold on, I'll stand objection. Detective, once you finish refreshing your recollection, put the report down, let counsel know, and then you can testify from your memory being refreshed, okay?
Thank you, Judge Horne. So if you would just go back to the page that you were reading and refresh your memory on, if you need to, if you don't, tell me what you advised, instructed the group to do.
You read it verbatim or just, we advise the group, you guys to keep moving on.
All right. And after they were advised to keep moving on, did any of that group of 20 to 30 keep moving towards, or continue to congregate near the bus?
I don't know. I went back to my assignment, which was down the street.
Did you document anything about what the group continued to do in your report?
If I can look at my report.
Please, if it will refresh your memory.
You're not going to object to the report. You wouldn't specify that he doesn't know. So anything he puts in his report at this point is going to be hearsay. As it relates to that question.
Your Honor, he can refresh his memory. He has said that reading the report will refresh his memory.
Yeah, I'll overrule the objection.
And the
Hold on, Mr. Matthews, I'm gonna overrule the objection, okay? All right.
I would object to answer the question.
Bless you.
He answered the question live testimony, and now the state's asking for a question.
Overrule, sir. Detective, once you're finished, though, you need to put the report back down, okay?
Yeah, I can take
Okay.
it.
Did you document in your report what the group did, or what members of the group did after being instructed to keep moving?
Yes,
Has your memory been refreshed as to what they did after being instructed to keep moving?
yes.
And what did members of the group do after being instructed to keep moving?
Some of the members hung around where the bus was. At that point, I believe Lil Wayne was being walked out to the bus at that point. Like I said earlier, it was utter chaos going on at this point, and we are still working traffic, still trying to keep it calm. Still, even with this going on, we still had hundreds of other people out there that we were dealing with.
And were the 20 to 30 people you were describing people that you were associating with YSL?
Yes,
When you prepared the report of this incident, what did you do with it?
what again?
Did you reach out to determine who was leading the investigation?
I did that before I even did the report.
And who was it that you determined was leading the investigation?
Detective Racy from Cobb County.
Did you do anything in order to assist Detective Racy
Yes,
during his investigation?
yes.
Would you detail for the jury the steps that you took to assist Detective Racy in his investigation?
I reached out to Racy because him being in Cobb County and us being in Atlanta, I knew he wouldn't be familiar with what was going on. I explained to him that I was at the club that night. I explained to him what I do on a day-to-day basis, and also that I was familiar with the individual that was driving a white Camaro. I then went to
Pause for a second. What was it that you explained you did on a day-to-day basis?
that I was a gang detective.
All right. Go ahead. And if you could slow down your account for me just a little bit so the court reporter and I can keep up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Upon speaking with Racy, I believe that was Monday. I had left a message Sunday for him to give me a call Monday. Once we talked, explained to him what happened, gave him the details of what happened, and also explained that I believe I knew who was the driver of the Camaro. I just didn't know his government name. And so on Monday, myself and my partner, Lakia Gaither, she's better at finding people, so she started searching.
Non-responsive? Because he's on direct, so he can testify. Okay, all right. So, and what else? What's the other basis?
His conduct, what he did when he told Detective Racy is not relevant to this act.
All right, I'm gonna overrule that particular objection. I'll sustain the first one now. Okay, so you need to rephrase part of it.
Monday, when you spoke of Monday, reaching out to Detective Racy, that Monday, April 27th.
Yes.
And when you spoke about investigations that you were involved in, generally speaking, what were you investigating?
At that time?
I'm overrule the objection, but before you launch into this next area, it's 10 after. Okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, how about we stop for the day and we'll go ahead and.
So, this guy, they're making this Lil Wayne bus shooting a centerpiece of this trial. If you came in late, there were several witnesses that testified about this Lil Wayne bus shooting. And Detective Dennis, that's really the first thing he's tackling here. We're going to hear a little bit more about some of the drive-bys and what they think were other retaliatory shootings that are supposed to be tied back to the murder of Donovan Thomas. But day one, the first day of direct with Detective Dennis, in my opinion, the most groundbreaking thing is he was directing traffic at a venue, as he typically does. He had no gang experience when he joined the gang unit. He was voluntold to join the gang unit. That was his word that he used. Why he, did you take any interest in it, or why did you become part of the gang unit? I was voluntold. So no specialty, no passion. Directing traffic, then after the event, he sees a report on TMZ that something went down. And then he's working with another officer who writes a 4-page report. And I think Racy's called to the stand after him. We could watch that as we get through these. But a short report that he's going to use to refresh his recollection because he helped supply information for a different officer to fill out a report. But that information comes back to his circular, I heard this on TMZ. And Judge Glanville allowed it. Judge Glanville allowed it. So not only have we seen very recently, this hearsay within hearsay, but even when it comes to the police officers, one police officer is telling someone another thing, and then that person's incorporating it into their report. And we barely ever get these reports. This is a rare time that we're going to get a report. But this report is coming from something, yeah, I was at this event, but I really heard about the stuff that was going on when I saw it on TMZ the next day. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. And you guys say, no, please not thick neck Racy. But it's just all over the whole case. The whole case. We'll get to let me queue up day 72. This is the second day that he's going to be on the stand. It starts with evidentiary arguments. Do this. And the court feed is still muted. The camera guy was still learning how to make things work back in the day. And Doug is back. Shout out to Doug. They better turn the court audio on. Let me check law and crime for this day because I don't know why they don't have sound. Okay, it's not on Law and Crimes either. Oh, yes it is. Okay, so Fox messed up their stream. We'll switch to this.
Kendrick and Mr. Steele, Mr. Adams, and Ms. Renard, good morning. All right, Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Weinstein, good morning. Mr. Hugh and Mr. Matthews Jr., good morning, sir. And Mr. Nichols and Mr. Harvey and Ms. Westmoreland, good morning. Mr. Ryan and Misty Williams, good morning. All right. Mr. Brown, Mr. Smith, Mr. Houseman, Mr. Atkins, and ladies, Ms. Lowe and Ms. Hilton, good morning. Good morning. Sorry, any more jurors present?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, before I summon our jurors, Mr. Steele, I did in fact get your email correspondence from yesterday. I did take a look at Teague versus the state of 252 Georgia, 354, and Sullivan versus the state of 311 Georgia, 835. I'm of the opinion after reading those two cases, inconsistent with what this court would probably authorize is, you are correct that you cannot ask a witness like a detective. Hey, Detective Smith, what did Detective Green tell you? What did you learn from him? That would fall within that. However, if our witness here says, did you talk to Green? Without telling us what you talked to Green, what did you do as a result of that? That would be proper, and I would allow that. But I'm going to, it doesn't really kind of, to explain conduct, the two cases that you mentioned, while another officer can't give testimony about what he got from another officer to explain conduct, and in fact, in these two cases, Sullivan and Teague, Sullivan in particular, the issue was that the investigation was attacked. So the court authorized it, said it was harmless. So I'm not gonna let the state do that, and you can certainly object.
No, and I thank you for making that clear. It was just yesterday, and it was right when we broke, that there was a question, maybe two, whatever the record shows, that the prosecutor was announcing, well, this explains the law enforcement officer's conduct, and that, as you know.
Well, as long as he doesn't conduct, he can, I mean, as long as he just doesn't state what somebody else told him to relate to what he did, but he can certainly say, as a result of his interactions with other law enforcement officers or witnesses or the like, what he followed up on. That would not be improper.
So, and I thank you.
Shannon Alexander says, when I think of Doug, the Hangover song pops in my head. You guys know the one where, what's the character that loses his tooth? And he's like singing a sad song on the piano about Doug. Oh my gosh, that is a throwback. Holy moly. How long has it been since those movies came out? Oh, shout out to that Doug and the Honorable Doug Weinstein. Thank you, Shannon, for the throwback.
Just reading out of T in Division 1, third paragraph up from the end of it, and it says, it will be seen that only in rare circumstances will the conduct of the investigating officer need to be explained.
But you're cutting it off, Mr. Steele. You're not looking at an overall context, okay? That was one officer who got information from another. He testified what somebody else told him. Yes, and the reason that was, the court said it was rare because it's what he said to that particular detective that the court clarified, and that was told to the jury. So this is a little different. If he says, for example, his investigation was predicated on X, Y, and Z, as long as he doesn't state what that was from another detective, that would be, I think that would not violate that or not be hearsay.
I agree with what you're saying about hearsay. This is what I'm taking, and then obviously we'll go with what the Honorable Court says over objection if needed. But just to continue reading what I said, if I may, it will be seen that only in rare instances will the conduct of an investigating officer need to be explained. As in practically every case, the motive, intent, or state of mind of such an officer will not be matters concerning which the truth must be found. At the heart, a criminal prosecution is designed to find the truth of what a defendant did, and on occasion of why he did it. It is most unusual that a prosecution will properly concern itself with why an investigating officer did something. That's what I'm asking the court to consider as we go along. I do hear you. I'm not challenging you. I do agree, obviously, not hearsay should never come in. I agree with that, or confrontation clause, depending upon the statement. But I'm going a little further, I think, than what you're saying, and I heard you say just make the objection as we go. But the fact that I'm just using his name, a former detective, or excuse me, retired detective Dennis, he says, well, and the state was getting into this, I believe, maybe I'm wrong. Well, I knew that there was a beef between Lil Wayne and Jeffrey Williams. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I believe that was important. So I wanted to watch people from YSL, and these are the people from YSL. And what I'm saying is, his belief doesn't matter. The fact that maybe he watched closely and saw Jimmy Winfrey almost got forbid strike him with a car, that's observant. That was my position, and that's why I sent you the cases. And I appreciate the court, as always, taking time to discuss things with us. And
Okay.
Your insight, your position. Thank you.
All right, sir. Anything, madam?
Your Honor, just briefly, which was that when an instruction is given and the officer follows an instruction, we're not offering the instruction to explain the officer's conduct as much as for its effect on the listener as a result of the instruction. And I believe that that's the way that we've been doing that. What I heard just now was not a sequential set of events that occurred. We did not, investigators didn't testify that there was a beef between YSL and Young Thug. He testified that they were given instructions not to let some people in the club.
I understand. Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Thank you for becoming a member. Truth always wins. And I saw you say that you were renewing your gifted sub. So thank you so much for staying a member. Super, super sweet of you. Thank you for supporting the channel.
All right, Sergeant Ingram, some of our viewers, please. Can we get Detective Dennis to come rejoin us, please? Can't video. Okay, all right. If you want to video me, that's fine. Okay. Or Christina.
Wait, did they not? Is this the day that they don't video him? Now, I don't know if you want to watch all of this. The most important thing to me about this day is when they go through the timeline with Love writing on her giant white pieces of paper the retaliatory incidents from the January 2015 through October. And then there's a spike here in the watching where they do a sidebar. Everyone went and rewatched the sidebar. But if you want to skip to the part that I think is the most relevant on direct for this day, we can do that. If not, we can watch it straight through. What do you guys think? And it was PeeWee Roscoe that was arrested, not PeeWee Longway. PeeWee Longway is YSL Nicole. PeeWee Roscoe is Jimmy Winfrey. Hold on, I have a yes. I have a yes, but I don't know which way this is. Oh, Kiana says, Kat, you're bringing back giant nightmares. I forgot about the giant paper. All right, we'll do straight. Oh, we got half and half. We got skips. We got straight through. I mean, there is a lot of break in the beginning. All right, we'll go through after this side. We'll start right before the sidebar and see what the issue is, and then we'll skip it.
The one you're using now. Which side was Tickets to Game Studios on?
Not to be exact, but it was something like here.
Okay, so they're going through the
And
pictures of
what
where
was on
the
the other
TIG
side?
was located.
Not to be exact, the vault. So it was here,
What is the vault?
a recording studio.
And based on the investigations you conducted, did anyone involved in the cases you described, you all investigated prior to your time with Detective Racing, record at the vault?
Yes,
Who?
Young Thug, the YSL guys hung out at the vault, If Gangs hung out at TIG.
Okay. On January the 8th, did any of your investigations include property belonging to DeQuantes Lamar or Rich Homie Quan?
Yes,
And what property of Rich Homie Quan or DeQuantes Lamar?
his vehicle got
I'm
shot.
gonna object as much as call for hearsay.
Your Honor, under Hassan? 2024 Lexus, 2024 Georgia.
Y'all come on.
We're going to sidebar the admissibility on this. So a lot of the earlier half was to finish up with the Lil Wayne and how that reporting was documented with efforts between him and Racy. And it's not unimportant. It's just hammering down stuff that doesn't start to name these 6 co-defendants. They split up right here.
I will rule the objection. You may continue.
And Your Honor, may I have a question back to your last question that I was asking Detective Dennis?
You may. Ms. Weaver?
On January 8th, the end of your investigations included property belonging to the Quindarious Zacharym or Rich Homie Quan, where it was yes, question in what property of Rich Homie Quan or Detective Lamar. You said his vehicle got shot.
I'm going to show you.
So now we're leading into January 8th. We're 2 days away from when Nut gets shot and killed.
What has already been admitted as 6, exhibit 22 India through 33 India. And ask you, was the vehicle depicted in that set of photographs a part of your investigation?
I personally have never seen these photos.
Okay. What property of, let me take that back. What property of DeQuantes Lamar did you investigate getting shot?
We found the calls for service in reference to the incident. And at the time that we found it, we basically were able to establish that the incident happened. We didn't necessarily, the actual incident came in as damage to property.
And
Sure. Yeah.
Based on that answer, my investigator Dennis, I believe that it changes the foundation of ruling in the hearsay. He's not the investigator. It is not following the case.
Your Honor, I disagree.
I'm over the objection, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. After, I'm sorry, so the vehicle that you investigated on January 8th, that shooting of Mr. Lamar's vehicle, where did that
Objection
occur?
on the misstatement of the testimony, you said he's not investigating. The statement said that you investigated.
Your Honor, two things. I asked him what vehicle and what property was a part of his investigation. The objection that it misstates.
Overruled, sir.
Would you please tell the jury what location it was that you learned or investigated as being the location where Mr. Lamar's vehicle was shot?
675 Metropolitan.
And through your investigation that you conducted prior to talking to Detective Racy, did you establish any relationship between Mr. Lamar and either Think It's a Gang or any other studio at 675 Metropolitan Parkway?
Yes,
Go ahead.
that's the recording studio that he recorded at.
Which,
Sorry, no, TIG Studios.
through your investigation, did you learn who the owner of TIG Studios was?
Yes.
Who?
Gervin Fly is his nickname. I don't know his name.
Was it Gervin Fly Henry?
But
I stand the question.
I withdraw. Would you please just state for the record again who it is that you said?
we know him as Fly.
And that first name, is it Girvin?
Yes.
Okay. Through your investigation, did you learn of any other persons who recorded at Think It's a Gang Studios?
Yes.
Would you give the jury the names of the other people through your investigation you determined recorded at Think It's a Gang Studios?
Rayshawn Bennett, or AKA YFN Lucci, also recorded at the studio as well.
Look at Doug. I know he's trying to look something up on his laptop, but I always love a good Doug facial expression. It's like the mood. Thank you to Aquarius123 for gifting 5 memberships. So there better be 5 thank yous in the chat. Thank you, Aquarius123. I'm going to add you to the banner here.
And do you know of any other persons besides Young Thug who recorded at the vault?
Yes.
Would you tell the jury the names of those people through your investigation you determined recorded at the vault?
I'm gonna object, again, as a call for hearsay.
I stand the question. You can rephrase, madam.
Yes, Your Honor. How many people, other than Young Thug, did you learn through your investigation recorded at the vault?
You're on the same objection.
Overruled, sir.
Ask for a continued objection. please.
It's noted, sir.
From our investigation, it was a functioning studio, so several artists recorded at the studio.
Through your investigation, did you ever determine whether anyone affiliated with YSL recorded at 675 at TIG or Think It's a Gang?
No.
On the 8th, did you investigate any other acts besides the 2 that you described, the shooting involving Gary Mills and the shooting involving DeQuantes Lamar or Rich Homie Quan?
No.
Chronologically, what was the next incident that you investigated that you had knowledge of prior to talking to Detective Racy?
January 10th, the murder of Donovan Thomas, AKA Peanut.
Prior to January the 10th, did you investigate or look into anything that occurred at Spring Street and Ivan Allen Boulevard?
Yes.
What did you investigate that occurred at that location?
We had found a flyer in reference to an incident of a female that was associated with Mr. Williams. We believed it was his girlfriend at the time. It came up as a shots fired call. We tried to investigate to find out, but we had no reporting victims or anything of that sort.
And was this call one of what you would call a property call or just?
Damage to property. So it didn't have any damage or anything. It just came up as shots fired. So it was just listed at.
The hearsay be referring to a 911 call or cab or anything that is not his or his investigation will be hearsay and object.
You're under Hassan, you put your arm, simply talking about.
What were your objections, sir?
Go ahead.
We basically located the shots fired call. We looked into it like we looked in every call that we received,
Did
and
you ever find a victim?
we did not.
Did you ever find a projectile?
We did not.
And did you ever locate the person who made the call?
We did not.
Did you endeavor to do either of those things?
We did all of that.
Okay. And
I object to the relevance and that's restricted based on all of the responses.
Full rule, sir.
after the January the 9th incident, what was the next incident that you all investigated that you had knowledge before talking to Detective Grace?
The murder of Donovan Thomas.
And where, based on your investigation, did that murder take place?
330 McDaniel Street, McDaniel and Northside Drive.
Is that in Fulton County?
Yes.
Now, would you on that map draw a line up on a timeline, draw a line up from January 9th? And would you write just something like Spring and Ivan Allen? Shots. And what was the flyer that you said that you located?
It was for an event that was at the location. It's a hotel right there.
Do you remember what kind of event?
I don't.
Okay. Now, would you draw a line up from the 10th? And write the words Donovan Thomas or DT murder? I'm gonna give you a chance to take a seat for a little bit. Chronologically, what was the next event that?
So the whole time he's writing, they're just not showing him writing this down because for whatever reason, they're like scared to show his identity today after he was on the stand all day yesterday. But who asks questions about why things are done the way they're done in this trial anymore? It just is what it is, right? Big shout out also to Trina, the beautiful Trina. Says, yes, I am in the gang. You've been here for a whole month. You're becoming a veteran. So shout out to Trina. Shannon Alexander says, Kat, come to Atlanta for meet and greet. Wait, is there a meet and greet scheduled? Or you just mean to have one in general? I'm in Atlanta. I'm in the Atlanta area periodically because my brother lives in Fulton County. So I'm there once in a while. I'll definitely be there in January for like Smite, the game Smite. Probably be helping them with their social media this year if they as long as they recontract me again. So, but every January I like to attend their world championships. So I'll be up there at least in January. But if there's an actual scheduled meet and greet, yeah, we got to do a KNW meet and greet in general. Next time I'm up there, I'll definitely like put the word out and we can get some food. We can do some karaoke. We can check out one of these club flyer events and pick the best event based on the flyer. Smite is like an MMORPG. I've learned how the game works from watching it, but I've never actually played it. But it's cool to watch. It's like League of Legends, and I don't know about other comparables, but League of Legends is the best popular comparable I can think of. So, but their studios is up there in, I think their studios is actually in Marietta. I think we drive north to get there, but I don't know my Atlanta geography that well. We could do a Buc-ee's meetup, you guys. We can do a Buc-ee's meetup. Right? That'd be hilarious. We all just meet at Buc-ee's and take a picture with the beaver. Thank you so much for the 2.
that you investigated as part of the gang unit, you were aware of prior to talking to Detective Racy?
The night of the 10th rolling into the 11th,
What was the location of the incidents that you investigated the night of the 10th rolling into the 11th?
I believe it was 88 Van Ira and Hendricks, 193 or 198 Hendricks.
And what type of incident took place at those locations?
Buildings, houses shot up.
And who in your investigation was connected with those locations?
Objection, calls for hearsay.
You're on under quick and defined, this is,
Overrule objection.
who in your investigation was connected to these locations, if anyone?
These are family members of Kenneth Copeland.
Would you write on the map, like draw a line down from January the 11th, and write shots? 88 Van Ira, 193 Hendricks, and KC. You may have a seat. Were these locations of KC's family or people?
Yes,
Okay. And were these locations the targets of the shots that were fired?
to our knowledge, yes.
Objection, calls for speculation.
Is,
Hold on. That was Mr. Adams and Mr. Sharp.
I'll rephrase.
I stand objection.
Did the reports that you investigated originate from the occupants of 88 Van Ira and 193 Hendricks? In other words, you understand that question?
Yes,
Overrule, sir.
Go ahead.
yes.
Chronologically, what was the next event that you investigated?
I believe it was Ruby Harbor, 34 or something, Ruby Harbor.
Did you investigate an event at 349 Cleveland Avenue on January 12, 2015?
I
stand, I'm overrule objection.
Was that one of the events involved in your investigation that you conducted prior to talking to Detective Racy?
yes.
Who was affiliated or connected with 349 Cleveland Avenue?
That's basically in a YSL territory area.
And is that something that through your investigations you determined as a detective?
I stand objection.
How were you able to determine that or make that statement to the jury?
Based on being a detective and a gang detective,
Basis.
You don't want to expert testimony.
Overrule, sir.
You said based on being-
Overrule, sir. Thank you.
What was the incident that you investigated that occurred on January 12th at 349 Cleveland Avenue?
shots fired.
And who did you investigate as the perpetrator?
I don't recall.
Do you recall who the victims?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay. Would you draw a line up from January the 12th? And right, 349 Cleveland, shots fired.
And thank you to Mallory for becoming a member. I see in a separate chat you are in your 3rd year of law school. Shout out to you. And you're saying here you're learning so much from this trial. I hope that includes things not to do, right guys? This is a great trial to learn some things not to do. So super awesome to have you in here. Let us know your feedback as we go along, especially if you learned a cool new concept while you're in school. Thank you so much for joining.
Now, we're showing you a summary of those events that you investigated prior to talking with Detective Racy. Refresh your memory as to who you investigated as the victim and who you investigated as the assailant in that case?
Yes.
Objective, this is not indicating he's a direct question. Correct.
He said he doesn't recall.
I'll rule the objection. You may refresh his memory.
Thank you. Your Honor, we're going to label this. 114 Echo sub R. And showing to the defense what has been labeled as 114 ER previously provided.
And then Mallory says they're learning a lot about 801 D2AE. That is the co-conspirator exception to the hearsay rule, you guys. There has been a ton about that in this trial.
Was showing you a copy of that refresher recollection.
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, I'm going to approach the witness with what we have labeled as State's Exhibit 114 Echo sub R.
Romeo,
And not for admission, just for the record.
I understand.
Take a look at 114 Echo R on the page that I turned to without reading out loud. And if you would look at number, where my finger is pointing. Read it. When you finish reading it, look up and tell me if your memory is refreshed as to who you were investigating as a victim.
Yes.
And does it refresh your memory as to who you were investigating as an assailant?
Yes.
All right. First, tell the jury who, without reading, who it was you were investigating as the victim in this particular case.
The victim was Summer Good,
And who did you investigate as an assailant?
Kelvin Watts.
And through your investigation, did you determine any connection between Summer Good and anyone that you saw at the compound the night of April 25th, 2015?
Summer, yes.
And who was the person you determined had connection with Summer Good that you saw at the compound that night?
Quindarious Zacharym.
Did you investigate any other? What was the next event that you investigated chronologically that you were aware of prior to talking to Detective Rose?
And shout out to future Miss Martin 2.0. So good to see you. Thank you for the 5 and happy Sunday to you. While you're here, are you going to be on Hearsay for Days coming up? Because we're going to be going to about 4 o'clock Eastern. I'm Eastern. And I know Hella, the Hearsay for Days starts. Are you going to guest on that today? I'm looking at the regular chat, so let me know. Thank you for the 5. Good to see you. And let me know if you're going to be on Hearsay for Days.
Racing about the shooting from April 26, 2015.
Yes, sir. I tell you what, I do want. I understand on good authority that we need to take a comfort break. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Let's take 15 minutes, okay? Sir.
Okay, I honestly did love that Glenville always said, I have it on good authority. We need to take a comfort break. That's something that, like, guys, as a joke, when you're at the office, when you're at work, you need to take a break. You're in the work meeting or you're on a Zoom. Just be like, I have it on good authority. It's time to take a comfort break. Just call the shots. Okay, so no future Miss Martin on Hearsay for Days, which I just dropped the link in the chat. Hilariously, there's a nut in the URL today. So shout out to Nut. Like Nut Juice and Rice Street and all the fun things from this trial. But there might be a possibility of a Sean Martin potentially criminal sighting on Hearsay for Days. And I know, obviously, Hella and I think Dolly will be on today. So that will be another thing right after this stream is ending. We're going to end at the hour. That and Taybiz TV are doing streams at 4. So we'll keep dropping the links to both. Thank you for, the hint on maybe a Sean sighting. And we'll skip this comfort break. This is actually a short comfort break, all things considered. And let's see what we have to litigate.
All right. Mr. Sharp, what do you wish to tell the court?
Your Honor. I don't know where this is going, but I think that this is definitely something before the state goes down this road that they should have litigated before attempting to.
They should what? I'm sorry, sir.
Litigated outside the presence of the jury before attempting to do this. I am saying right now, I don't know where the state's going with this, but if I hear my client's name, Shannon Stillwell, or any of people that are associated with my client's name being listed as someone that was being investigated or suspected of a crime, I am moving for an immediate mistrial because that would be highly improper. Who's suspected of crimes that are not charged, not convicted, being listed through an investigator is complete violation of 404B, 404A, and is prejudicial and completely improper. We're trying this case through hearsay right now. I'm surprised the state didn't ask Investigator Dennis, well, what happened in the Donovan Thomas case? Just tell us all about what you learned through hearsay, because that's where we're headed. And to just say, who's the victim? Who's the suspect? And who's the perpetrator? Yeah, who's the perpetrator? That's highly improper. And right now, the only perpetrator that's been listed is Kelvin Watts. And I think that was improper. But I'm saying as it goes forward, as soon as a name that's associated with my client or my client's name comes out, I'm moving for an immediate mistrial. And I believe it's very warranted.
Thank you, sir.
And Adams is going to join on behalf of Mr. Williams. Now, again, great question for people that joined the trial late, that started watching around day like 95 or whatever. Does this feel like deja vu? Are you surprised that this was happening? Are you shocked at how often one of the defense attorneys has to say, if this happens, we were supposed to litigate this, or we did litigate this, but if this comes in, or if the state tries to slip this in, we will move for a mistrial. It's happened several times.
In that objection also, and
Well, the Harvey rule's in effect, so what else do you want to add to that, sir?
well, I want to, the state cited a case earlier, a Hassan case. I had a chance to sit and read through, and that is actually instructive to the court. There is a difference in what the court applied in Hassan and what's going on right here.
But quick is a better case in terms of the court's interpretation of what a detective may testify to. So I have to read both in conjunction. So we'll disagree about our interpretations as to that, but I feel that I've made the correct ruling in respect to that. And you can still object as to foundation, but
And that's my position. And I share the same concern that Mr. Sharp has, which is that they have witnesses that they can call to testify about the individual incidents. If it's relevant, it comes in and those witnesses testify. But they can't simply wholeheartedly have Detective Dennis, and just by asking the questions in a certain way, saying, what does your investigation show? He can't just keep showing. He can testify to the end result of the investigation, but he can't get around hearsay by simply saying that I know this person was a perpetrator, this person was a victim. All of that comes from hearsay. In the Hassan case, that detective was not allowed. Of course, that detective did not testify about information gleaned from other detectives or information gleaned from the investigation. They were very clear in Hassan as to what was admissible and what was not. And what he is testifying to right now is not admissible. They can't call those witnesses, and they've got 200 witnesses on the witness list. They're trying to get around calling a lot of witnesses by trying this case, as Mr. Shaw said very aptly, by hearsay. And that deprives us of the ability to confront those witnesses. If the detective says, well, this person out of terms to be a perpetrator, this person out of terms to be a victim, we have no way of confronting that. It's just coming in based on his hearsay testimony.
Oh.
I would object. I would be in the same position and ask for the state not be allowed to continue down that road.
okay, all right, state.
Your Honor, Quick is as the court has pointed out, Quick is the most on-point authority that we have for our questions that we are asking Detective Dennis. We are, as Mr. Adams correctly stated, we are intentionally not asking him who did this, who did that. We simply are asking him, who did he investigate as the perpetrator? Who did you investigate as the victim? And later, when we get into other questions, we will have a proper basis and foundation for his knowledge of these other questions related to incidents that occurred after the April 25th, 2015, April 26th and 25th, 2015 incident.
Now, if you have not watched this trial since like Whitaker took over the bench, even though we've heard Love yelling in her own way, this is a tone that you might not be familiar with, but it's one she used frequently when she was trying to make her argument to Glanville because Glanville would allow it.
Involving the shooting of Lil Wayne's bus and how he aided Detective Racy in that investigation. Previously, Detective Dennis was asked questions about why he became involved in a Cobb County incident. Detective Dennis testified aptly that as a result of events that he was already investigating, he was able to do X, Y, and Z. There are certain steps that he took, certain places that he went that involve the incidents that he is simply speaking to the jury about his who, where, and what he investigated, not offering any statements by anyone. We're not arguing this is that, he pled guilty to that, and we're not going to offer any improper hearsay or testimony that might infringe on anyone's rights in this case.
All right, councils, take your break. We'll see you in a few minutes.
And then they would always take a break after stuff like this.
Go ahead.
And now we're going to get to the wonderful white paper.
It loosens up your body.
All right, so summon out yours, please.
What was Dennis talking about? And again, we've got two things happening at 4 p.m. in just about 50 minutes when this stream ends. Hella will be talking about Sarah Boone, Koberger, and Karen Reed. So this is Hella. And then Tay Biz will be talking about more YSL, Fulton County, you know, like some of the stuff that's not separable. You can't separate all the stuff at 4 p.m. as well. So 2 links to the chat to those right now. Thank you to Tina, who says thank you for the rewatches. So many details I'd forgotten or makes more sense now. Yeah, in retrospect too. Too bad the jury doesn't have the same ability. Yeah, and especially I think some of the things that they're hearing about that aren't actually tendered into evidence, they can't even revisit some of the things that they've heard testimony about, some of the actual exhibits, if they're not tendered. So really confusing process. Thank you for the 9. And then Ike says, overruled, Cat. Why? For what? Doesn't matter. Nope, just keeps barreling along. It's pretty much like, just add it to your list of issues to raise on appeal. That's kind of what it is. Thank you for the 2.
Detective Dennis, looking at the diagram that you have been drawing on for the jury, have you gone past the January date to continue writing
Yes.
incidents? So would it be helpful if we just turn to a clean page to continue the rest?
That's fine.
All right. So I'm just gonna write timeline at the top, okay?
All right.
All right, so NFL Sunday, we're
Would
getting
you
the
tell the
play-by-play
jury
by Love.
what incident that you investigated chronologically next that you had knowledge of prior to speaking with Detective Racy?
878 Oakland.
Now, on January the 12th, did you investigate an incident involving 193 Hendricks?
Yes.
And whose home is that?
That's the brother of Kenneth Copeland.
And that was January the 12th,
Yes.
2015. And what type of incident were you investigating as it related to the information you had before speaking with Racy?
The house basically was a drive-by shooting.
So drive-by?
Yep.
Of Kenneth Copeland's brother.
Correct.
Was Kenneth Copeland affiliated with any of the groups that you described being at Club Crucial on January the 8th, 2015?
January 6th.
January the 6th, 2015.
Yes.
Which,
Hold on, sir.
which group did you investigate Kenneth Copeland as being a part of as it relates to the investigation you took place before speaking with Detective Racy?
He was associated with YSL.
All right. The incident you spoke of at 878 Oakland, What date did that occur?
The 13th.
Do you need to refer to your timeline to refresh your memory?
Yes,
Okay. Have you refreshed your memory?
I have.
And what date did the incident at 878 Oakland occur on?
January 13th, 2015.
What type of incident was that?
Drive-by shooting.
878 Oakland. Have I accurately written what you said on the
Yes,
flip chart? Is that address connected with anyone who is, at that time in your investigation, associated with YSL?
Kenneth Copeland,
And what relation is the house owner of 878 Oakland to Kenneth Copeland?
his sister,
And is his sister the person you're investigating as the victim or the perpetrator?
the victim.
In the incidents occurring on January the 12th and January the 13th, are you investigating persons associated with YSL as victims or perpetrators?
We're investigating them as victims.
Okay. I'm just gonna write YSL Copeland, sister. Victim.
It's such a slick
And
thing
then-
to write. YSL Copeland, if he's the one with the immunity
Chronologically,
deal, and
what was the next incident that you investigated, that you had knowledge of prior to speaking with Detective Racy?
3424 Ruby Harper,
All right? And what date did that occur?
January 13th.
hey, Nick. Guys, Nick Starro reached 10K subscribers finally. Throw some balloons in the chat. We're celebrating
34.
all weekend.
24.
Ruby Harper,
What type of event occurred at 3424 Ruby Harper on January 13, 2015 that you investigated prior to speaking with Detective Racy?
drive-by shooting.
Is 3424 Ruby Harper in Atlanta?
Yes,
And is it in Fulton County?
yes.
And who lived, did anyone at 3424 Ruby Harper have any connection, based on your investigation, to anyone in YSL?
Yes.
What was the connection between the person at 3424 Ruby Harper and someone in YSL?
The stepfather of Jeffrey Williams.
And were you investigating the stepfather of Jeffrey Williams as a alleged perpetrator or alleged victim in this case?
Victim.
Jason, no, not 10K shots.
Moving forward, on January the 22nd, 2015, did you investigate any crimes or offenses that you had knowledge of prior to speaking with Detective Racy?
What's the date?
January 22nd, 2015.
1007 Hill Street.
1007 Hill Street?
Yes.
Is 1007 Hill Street in Atlanta?
Yes.
Is it a house, business, or something else?
I think it's apartments.
So it's a residence?
It's like a townhouse type apartment. Yes, it's a residence.
And who lived there at that time?
Rayshawn Bennett's mother,
And does Rayshawn Bennett go by any other name?
YSN Lucci.
Lucci's
They
mama
beat me to
lived
it.
at 1007 Hill Street?
Correct.
Does YFN Lucci have any affiliation or connection to any of the groups that you mentioned being at Crucial on the 6th?
Yes.
Which group?
If Gang.
Now, I'm not exactly sure, so thank you, Nick Starro, for coming in, saying hello, and dropping a super. Nick says, oh god, no, not the whiteboard of clutter, no. But to be fair, this is like the most chronological the state's case has ever been presented, is when she's writing this on the paper. It's not very great that she's writing her own phrases like YSL Copeland sister. Like, she's characterizing the evidence by the way she's writing it on the board, coming up with her own terms, which is really annoying. But Nick, while you're here, I don't know if FFS, if you know FFS, if FFS has ever been in your chat. But I told FFS earlier on this stream that you used to have an FFS counter for how many times you needed to say FFS while watching this trial, and that very quickly you just changed the count to unlimited. So I think if you guys don't know each other, you guys would be great, great friends. Just lots of FFS and good times all around.
Are you investigating YFN Lucci's mother as the victim or alleged perpetrator?
Victim.
January the 26th of 2015, did you investigate any incident that you had knowledge of prior to talking with Detective Racy about the April 26th, 2015 shooting of the Little Wayne bus?
Yes.
What occurred on January 26th, 2015, first, that you had knowledge of and investigated before speaking with Detective Racy?
Kenneth Copeland's brother's vehicle was shot as it exited 75 South at University.
So KC, and is this the same Kenneth Copeland associated with YSL?
Yes.
YSL, brothers, vehicle is shot?
Mm-hmm.
And what was that location?
7585 South down at University.
My writing is getting as bad as yours, isn't it?
Not as easy as it looks.
Okay. Did anything else happen on January 26, 2015 that you had knowledge of and investigated before speaking with Detective Racy?
Yes.
What?
Lucci's mom's house got shot up again.
And
1007 Hill Street.
And was his mother the victim that you were investigating or the perpetrator you were investigating?
Her and her boyfriend were the victims. They were actually shot.
And were both his mother and her boyfriend shot, or was only the mom shot?
Both were shot.
January the 28th, 2015. Did anything happen that you investigated and had knowledge of prior to speaking with Detective Racy that you considered pertinent to Detective Racy's investigation?
Yes.
What happened on January 28th, 2015?
2905 Springdale Road and Trivia Smith's apartment is shot up.
2905 Springdale Road. Is that in Atlanta?
It's in Atlanta, but I think it's at East Point or College Park. I'm not sure. On the board.
And Trivia Smith home shot up.
Mm-hmm.
And Trivia Smith on January 25th, 2015, is she the person you're looking at as the victim or the perpetrator?
She's a victim.
During that investigation, did Antrivia Smith provide you with any?
She's not even spelling the name right. Like, it's with an A, Antravia. Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be that nitpicky, but you're supposed to know your case. So if you're going to call someone YSL Copeland's sister, maybe when you're actually using someone's actual name, you should know what their name is. Oh my goodness. Adrian Love. And shout out to Rice Street. Rice Street is over here turning everybody green today. Rice Street, you're up to 110. Holy moly. I think 110, right? Because you're at, yeah, 110. We'll get that up there. And again, guys, this is the one opportunity to show positivity, good connotations towards Rice Street. It's the only time.
Media.
Yes.
And what was the media she provided you with?
She gave us a video from Club Crucial of Kenneth Copeland flashing a large sum of money.
Did Antrivia Smith ever give you video footage of Moncton?
I stand objection.
Did you ever obtain any pieces of evidence from Entrevia Smith related to either Quindarious Zacharym or Antonio Sledge?
Yes.
And what was that?
It was a social media post of Antonio Sledge and Quindarious Zacharym both holding weapons, antagonizing the rival gang and Kelvin Watts.
And remember, that is an overt act, this image that they're
And I
talking
wrote January
about.
25th. Was that January the 28th? Did I write that
That's
wrong?
8/20.
Who was it on the video antagonizing Kelvin Watts?
Antonio Sledge, aka Moontoot, and Quindarious Zacharym.
Antagonizing Kelvin Watts.
Correct.
Now, is this the same Kelvin Watts that you told the jury about an event occurring on January 12th, 2015?
Yes.
During your investigation, did you determine whether Kelvin Watts was connected with any of the groups that you talked about being at Club Crucial as it related to the January 6th, 2015 shooting?
Yes.
Which group?
If gang.
We're going to toggle over real quick. We're going to do a little interlude, and we're going to look at how this event was characterized. By this event, I mean the January 28th event involving Entrevia Smith. If you see here, you know, you have everything here, 128, drive-by shooting at Springdale Road. Smith has been dating Sledge since she was 17. Smith started dating Watts in late 2014. We have up here, the ballistics show that this incident matched shell casings to two other shootings, Harwell Road and Pope shooting. Smith stated that Watts was inside the apartment at the time of the shooting. So that's coming from Entrevia Smith saying that Kelvin Watts was at the house when the house got shot up. But what does it say in the middle of this PowerPoint here? We have Moontoot on the left, Trivia on the top center, Kelvin Watts on the right. But here on their PowerPoint, they say Copeland had an issue with the love triangle. Copeland had an issue with the love triangle. It was Copeland's problem. Like, make it make sense. Make it make some sense. Oh, and also shout out to Ashley Linnell. Always good to see you. Thanks for the 5. Says, Kat, I need to find the footage where Love says Lil D is in North Carolina. Was that during the evidentiary hearing week? The week that the jury was out recently last month? I feel like it was. The day that maybe Atkins was going through a lot of the statements. It was like Atkins and Shark kind of like leading the way. They got through like 20 different pieces of evidence or statements. I think that might have been the same day. If not, it was the day before or after. But I think they were talking about that back in, would that have been July? Or was that August? That week that they had the jury out and they got some stuff done. So I can look and go back through and search some transcripts for those days and try to look. But yeah, that was the effect of it, right? Like Lil D is somewhere in North Carolina. We were having trouble finding him. And then this week coming up, or this week that just passed while they're planning for the week coming up, they list off these witnesses that they plan to call, but they don't name Quindarious Zacharym. And then suddenly on Thursday afternoon of this week, after they recess for the jury leaving, they're talking about evidentiary issues with Zacharym again. So at some point, it became clear and became announced that Zacharym was being called soon, and then Friday night he's roped up and arrested for a materials witness warrant. So there is a GoFundMe pinned, and I know, you know, if you're not the type that trusts GoFundMes, I totally understand. Don't give what you don't have, but if you do want to support Quindarious Zacharym, who was arrested on Friday night, while apparently he was leaving the hospital after a blood treatment, roped him up. He's been sitting in Rice Street, not this Rice Street, the other Rice Street. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm assuming he should be the first that they call tomorrow. If not, that would be pretty cruel. But if you want to support his GoFundMe, the link is pinned and I'm also sharing it in the chat right now. So there you go. But yeah, I think, and thank you mods for posting that as well. But yeah, I do remember her talking about, you know, he's in North Carolina, you know, we got to make sure he gets here. So we'll see how that happens now that he's actually in custody and how he responds when he gets on the stand. And I'm sure it'll backfire for the state, but what else is new?
And was Calvin Watts connected by blood to, pardon the pun, was Calvin Watts related genetically?
Objection, hearsay.
A standing objection.
Did you find through your investigation any connection between Calvin Watts?
Objection, same, hearsay.
Your Honor,
Let her finish the question, Mr. Adams.
did you find through your investigation any connection between Calvin Watts and Donovan Thomas?
Yeah.
Overrule, sir. Overrule, sir.
You may answer.
Yes.
What was the connection? And is this the same Donovan Thomas who was murdered on January 10th?
Yes.
All right. And what connection did you find between Calvin Watts and Donovan Thomas, who was murdered on January the 10th?
They're half brothers.
And is Calvin Watts associated with If Gang, YSL, or something else?
If gang.
All right. On February the 10th of 2015, did anything occur that you investigated that you found pertinent to Detective Racy's investigation of
Yes.
the April 26th shooting?
Yes.
And what occurred on February the 10th, 2015?
Kelvin Watts was shot at 409 University Avenue.
Is that in Atlanta?
Yes.
All right. Is that the same Kelvin Watts you just told the jury about?
Yes.
Did anything occur on February the 19th of 2015 as it related to your investigation prior to speaking with Detective Racy?
Yes.
What happened on February the 19th, 2015?
156 Maury Avenue, Kenneth Copeland was coming out of his home and was shot at with his girlfriend and their small child.
And is that in Atlanta?
Yes.
Fulton County?
Yes.
So with his girlfriend, GF, and child?
Yes.
Okay. April 12th, 2015. Did anything occur on that date that you investigated that you found pertinent to the investigation you assisted Detective Racy with?
Yes.
What occurred on April 12th, 2015?
Dexter Montgomery was shot in the head.
And who is it that you were investigating these cases with, if anybody, as a partner?
Me and Lakia Gaither were partners. We rode together every single day.
You what?
We rode together every single day.
We're gonna stick a pin in this one, April 12th. What did you investigate Dexter Montgomery as, victim or assailant?
Victim.
And who did you investigate as the perpetrators of the April 12, 2015 incident?
Walter Murphy and Demise McMullen.
Is this the Walter Murphy that you had previously labeled DK in prior photos?
Yes.
And is Walter Murphy also one that you connected with YSL during your investigation?
Yes.
And the other person was Demise McMullen?
Yes.
What nickname, if any, did you learn he had?
Nard or Hard Nard.
Did you investigate Kelvin Treadwell related to the April 12, 2015 incident?
Yes.
Did you investigate Rodney Allison as it relates to the April 12, 2015 incident?
Yes.
Did you investigate a person named Fatty as it relates to the April 12, 2015 incident?
Yes.
Murphy, McMullen, Treadwell, Allison, and Fatty. Did you investigate them all as alleged perpetrators?
Yes.
Were McMullen, Treadwell, Allison, and or Fatty associated with either of the groups you mentioned were at Club Crucial on January 6, 2015?
Yes.
What group?
YSL.
All of them?
All of them.
Okay. And did you have an occasion to interview Walter Murphy in connection with the April 12, 2015 incident and the April 26, 2015 shooting of the Little Wayne bus?
Yes.
Who participated in those interviews with you?
Myself and Lakia Gator.
So we'll go to 4/26, 2015. Little Wayne bus shooting. Yesterday, you talked about having written a report in that case.
Yes.
Did you draft your report on the day that these events occurred, April 26, 2015?
No.
Approximately when did you draft the report that you made in the case involving the Little Wayne bus shooting?
I'm not sure, probably a month after, I think.
And would referring to your report refresh your recollection as to the date?
That's fine.
Your Honor, may I approach the court reporter for these events?
You may.
Showing you what has been admitted or marked for reference as State's Exhibit 113 Echo Romeo. Is this the report that you drafted?
Yes.
Looking at that report, does it refresh your memory as to when you prepared the report?
Yes.
And what date did you prepare the report as it relates to the Little Wayne bus shooting on April 26, 2015?
May 26th.
Would you tell the jury why you prepared a report for an event occurring in April on May 26, 2015?
Because initially it was no crime on us, it was on cop.
On April the 30th, did you state yesterday that you reached out to Detective Racy?
I did.
Do you remember when it was that you reached out to him?
I believe it was that Sunday morning, that Sunday evening. The compound happened Saturday night going into Sunday. I think once I got to work Sunday is when I reached out to the Zone 2 supervisor who had the incident, and then he put me in touch with the Cobb County Police Department, and they basically put us in touch with Detective Racy.
Now, I forgot about this part, like the order of how this came down, but really this is the part where they're trying to say that Young Thug gets involved, Jeffrey Williams gets involved, because these shootings, even though it was somehow supposed to all be in retaliation for Donovan Thomas and not, somehow it also becomes about Birdman and Lil Wayne, and because they're beefing with each other, Young Thug gets involved from April into May, and that's why they have to wait to fill out these reports, because they only figure out the beef, the theory, in that time frame. And also shout out, this is a great question. I see the chat already answering, but Shannon Alexander says, will Love turn in her homework tomorrow, or will she get more time? Will she get more time? And don't forget, she has to Friday for certain tasks. But I personally think if she doesn't have things ready tomorrow that she's supposed to have ready, she's gonna say she was so busy making sure she could secure Quindarious Zacharym and make sure he was brought into custody on Friday, and was so busy getting that done that she couldn't do anything Saturday or Sunday either. So that's what I think. That's my bet. Thank you for the 2, Shannon.
And as it relates to the incidents that occurred in January and February and into April that we listed on this timeline, what groups was it that you were investigating before talking to Detective Race?
YSL and If Gang.
How did you feel that that investigation you were conducting related to the investigation that Detective Racy was conducting?
It was
That's relevant.
Oh, the objection.
You may answer.
It was basically the same players and the same people.
When you say the same players and people, was Lil Wayne involved in either of those incidents?
No,
Then who are you talking about?
I'm talking about YSL.
Okay.
And do you see how Love is not getting the answers that she wants? She wants to get into the beef. She wants to bridge the gap and be able for him to just say, it was Young Thug. And she did ask a sort of leading question there. And the defense didn't object. They objected to the previous question. But you can hear her raising her voice because she doesn't know how to walk this forward and get him to just say it right away.
Let me, before getting into all of the ways that you assisted racing, ask you this. On April the 28th, 2015, did you investigate any events related to one or more of those same people that you were looking at as a result of April the 26th shooting of Lil Wayne's bus?
Say that, rephrase that, or say that again?
April 28th, 2015, did anything happen that you investigated
Yes,
that was related to people connected with the April 26th, 2015 shooting?
yes, I investigated
Did anything happen at Adele Drive?
drive-by shooting.
Now,
April
this is what
28th.
this is what we saw a ton of with Sledge. We also heard a bit about it watching some of those police interviews with Woody. But really, this is what Love wants to be able to talk about right now. This PowerPoint slide that they couldn't bring in with Dennis. And I'll link to this. Actually, that's a good idea. Let me link to this. This PowerPoint was attached to one of Brian Steele's motions in limine, so if you scroll to the bottom, you'll be able to see it. But really, how Love is going through this whole line of questioning is just echoing this PowerPoint. But this is where she wants us to get into these names. Let me move this comment. Lil D as in Demikian Garlington, Lil D as in Quindarious Zacharym, and Antonio Mungtunk Sledge. So, these three people, but what line do we have here? 3 YSL members were charged with these incidents. Right after she gets Detective Dennis to say that, you know, the issue is really starting to involve YSL. All these shootings. Oh, these 3 people were in shootings. We're going to say this is YSL members charged with these events. This is the construction of the RICO. So, you know, good times, good times.
That would have been a what day of the week?
Monday night going into Tuesday, I believe.
April 28th, 2015. Drive-by. And what was the location of that drive-by shooting?
1428 Adele Drive.
Is that in Atlanta?
Yes,
Would you describe where that is in Atlanta?
Zone 1, kind of near the AUC.
And by AUC, is that the Atlanta University Center?
Yes.
Consisting of Spelman, Morehouse, Clark,
Yes,
Morris Brown. Were the occupants of 1428 Adele Drive people that you investigated as the perpetrators or victims in the shooting on April 28th?
in this shooting, they were victims.
Were the occupants of 1428 Adele Drive connected with anyone in one of the groups, If Gang or YSL?
They were related to If Gang.
What If Gang member?
Darren Mills.
And what relation to Darren Mills did the occupant of 1428 Adele Drive have?
The victim?
Yes.
The victim was his aunt.
Okay. Did his mother also live there?
Yes.
Okay. The aunt was shot and the mother, was she shot?
No.
Was she inside the residence when the shooting occurred?
Yes.
Okay.
So we had Aunt testify.
Did anything
past
occur
week.
on April the 28th, 2015 at Drew Drive that you investigated as it relates to YSL or If Gang?
Yes.
What happened on April the 28th, 2015 at Drew Drive that you investigated?
A drive-by shooting,
And what was the address of Drew Drive?
1903 Drew Drive, Northwest.
And were persons at that location who lived there investigated as victims or perpetrators?
They were investigated as victims.
Did anyone live at 1903 Drew Drive who was connected with either YSL or If Gang through your investigation?
Yes.
Who?
Philip Collins. He's the brother of Darren Mills.
And did Philip Collins alone live at, and this is an apartment complex, house, or something else?
I believe it's an apartment and it's his girl. I believe he stayed with his girlfriend.
Okay. And is Philip Collins associated with either If Gang or YSL?
Yes, ma'am.
April 28th, 2015. Does anything occur as it relates to Kenneth Copeland?
Yes.
What occurs?
He was at the Dunbar Rec Center with an assault rifle, or they deemed it a pistol, but it was an assault rifle.
Okay.
This is relevant because their argument is that the weapon was purchased by Quindarious Zacharym to get to Kenneth Copeland.
And this was Kenneth Copeland associated with YSL?
Yes.
And is this information you gleaned from your investigation?
Yes.
Did anything occur on May 7, 2015, as it relates to YSL or If Gang that you investigated?
Yes.
What occurred on May 7, 2015, that you investigated as it relates to YSL or If Gang?
Quindarious Zacharym was caught with an assault rifle at, 151 Cleveland Avenue, the BP station.
At 151 Cleveland Avenue?
Yes.
Was that the first time that you had investigated 151 Cleveland Avenue as it relates to either YSL or If Gang?
It's located in the YSL area, Cleveland Avenue.
Basis.
Also testimony is beyond the can relate to this.
I'm overruling objection, sir.
So it's in YSL territory?
Yes.
There's the testimony by the DA.
I'll sustain as the form of the question. You can rephrase.
All right. And again, what is 151?
It's a BP gas station,
Okay. And is it in either particular group's territory?
YSL territory.
All right. And is Quindarious Zacharym associated with YSL or If Gang?
YSL.
And was he the alleged perpetrator or victim in this case?
He was arrested with that firearm. He was arrested with that firearm.
Now, this is really the key takeaway point, not just really of how love is trying to tie all of these people together, but also since we have Quindarious Zacharym coming up, coming up tomorrow. So, Detective Dennis just said it louder. He was the one, Quindarious Zacharym is the one that was in possession of a particular firearm. How does this tie in? How does this firearm tie in?
Without speaking any single word that he may have said, did you interview Quindarious Zacharym as a result of this incident and any of the other incidents that we have talked about before now?
Yes.
Did anyone accompany you during that interview?
My partner.
Is that Detective Davis?
Yes.
And was that interview recorded?
Yes.
October 1st, 2015. Did anything happen that you investigated involving either YSL or If Gang?
YSL member Martinez Arnold and Diamante Kendricks was arrested after a high-speed chase. where they basically were going to retaliate against If Gang.
Objection,
Basis.
false speculation.
I'll stand objection. You can freeze.
Who were the persons involved in the incident on October 1st, 2015, that were in your investigation connected to YSL?
Martinez Arnold, aka Duke, Diamante Kendrick, aka Yak Guy.
And were they investigated as victims or were they investigated as perpetrators?
They was investigated as perpetrators.
And are both of them connected with YSL?
Yes,
Is Diamante Kendrick someone that you recognize in the courtroom today?
yes.
Would you tell the jury where he is seated and an article of clothing that he is wearing?
He's the gentleman in the black sweater with the white collar in the front row.
Your Honor, would the record reflect that the witnesses identified Mr. Kendrick?
It shall.
You also spoke about Jeffrey Williams earlier. Is Jeffrey Williams anyone that you recognize in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And would you describe where he is sitting, and what he is wearing for the record?
The tan and red sweater with dreadlocks in the second row.
And who is he seated between?
Got on me to call hair colors today, so Mr. Steele and I believe Mr. Adams.
Your Honor, would the record reflect that the witness had identified Mr. Jeffrey Williams?
It shall.
Thank you. Were Mr. Kendrick and Mr. Arnold found with any weapons on April 1st, 2015?
Yes,
What kind of weapons were they found with?
I believe a handgun and an assault rifle.
Okay. Through your investigation, counsel has just reminded me, I said April 1st, and I did mean October 1st, 2015, as it relates to Martinez Arnold and Diamante Kendrick. Was that October 1st that they were found with the assault rifle
Yes,
and the handgun?
And we are getting close to the hour, but this is the key part. They are tying YSL into all of this and then making sure Young Thug is a part of it. Why? Because they can't just say Young Thug was responsible or the one doing the Lil Wayne bus tour shooting. They don't have evidence that he was present, except maybe he rented a car when it comes to Donovan Thomas's shooting in January. All these other people that all of a sudden are doing everything for YSL. How are they tying him back? Well, they're going to say that Quindarious Zacharym was told to buy guns, buy firearms, through orders from Jeffrey Williams, and then get those guns to people that are doing these shootings. For example, I said it's going to be really important, and I know it's on the PowerPoint too, but when they were talking about Hill Street earlier, and YFN Lucci, well, when they scoop up Quindarious Zacharym, they run ballistics, and they find that a firearm in his possession, the one that Dennis just mentioned, the ballistics match a shooting at YFN Lucci's house, when they were the two cars shooting at each other and at the house. So, when they bring Quindarious Zacharym in tomorrow, this is supposed to be a major moment for the state. Because the state is tying Jeffrey Williams into all of this by saying what he was doing to call the shots was ordering these firearms that would then be used by really these soldiers on the ground that are supposed to be YSL members, acting in furtherance of the gang, to shoot up Trevia's house, to shoot up YFN Lucci, to shoot up TIG, to shoot up Lil Wayne's bus. Quindarious Zacharym was supposed to be the messenger of the firearms, following Young Thug's orders. Like, just crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. So there is a little bit more of direct from Adrian Love. I mean, I can show you in the toggle. It pretty much, they end up taking a break on this day. Hold on. Sorry, Steph. I'll get to you in a second. But we do get to cross pretty soon, and I think you guys will appreciate cross-examination, so we'll have to do a part 2 and get through cross-examination. We might skip the rest of Love's Direct because it's really focusing on the car that PeeWee Roscoe was driving and why they think that he was tied to this Lil Wayne bus tour shooting. But we've got to see sometime this week how Cross chews up Detective Dennis. But do you guys kind of see the importance of Quindarious Zacharym in all of this? He's their thread to tie Jeffrey Williams and some of the other members sitting in this courtroom to individuals like Moontung, to individuals like Demikian Garlington, who is actually charged. He's just severed from this case. And honestly, also tying them to the other side, to If Gang. Quindarious Zacharym is the thread. And it's just a little crazy, just a little crazy. As a reminder, we do have both Tay Biz, who I have a redirect set up for, and Tay Biz will be talking about Fulton County, YSL. And that's in 5 minutes. And we also have Hella Excited Utterance doing a panel with Dolly and maybe potentially criminal Sean Martin. They're going to be talking about Sarah Boone, Brian Kohlberger. I think Karen Reed is what I saw for their panel today. So this is for Hella. And again, you'll have to catch the link for Hella because this stream is set to redirect over to Tay Biz. But closing it up here, I have to start my stream a little late tomorrow, but we will skip break. Sorry, I know it's probably going to be an interesting day. But you'll probably see that start around noon Eastern, and we'll skip the recesses and the lunch, and we'll get caught up before it ends. But I know it's going to be very interesting, and I know it's going to be the day that the defense has to be sharp on their toes while Love is direct examining Quindarious Zacharym, because I have 110% faith that Love will try to do something she's not supposed to do while direct examining. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I'm ready for it. But let's close this up. So Steph JK closing us out here says, shout out to the chat. No other group on YouTube like this. Well, it's so sweet of you to shout out the chat, but I think we should shout out Steph JK, who is such a blast. I know you'll probably be over in Tay Biz's chat. Steph is so fun to hang out with in other chats as well. And I'm always glad that she's here and so happy that recently she became a mod. So big, big love all the time for Steph JK. Black Butterfly, and I actually have the whole message here. So Black Butterfly says, Kat, the GoFundMe message says, since Lil D, and by Lil D we mean Quindarious Zacharym, since his arrest, they won't let him call home. He doesn't even know how much support he has right now, so he hasn't spoken to anybody. And the full message reads, thanks everyone, we really appreciate the support. Since being arrested on Friday, they have yet to let him call us, but I will keep y'all updated as soon as I have more information. So there's an update there. If another message gets sent out between today and tomorrow morning, probably be an X post and a YouTube community post. I'll put that out. But think about that. The same thing happened to Woody when they held him for contempt. They wouldn't let him call anybody. Nobody could contact him. And they're doing it all over again with Quindarious Zacharym, who again, not charged in this indictment, and dealing with blood treatment and probably in pain sitting in Rice Street over the weekend because they want him to come testify on Monday. So the importance of their case, the importance of Zacharym to their case is showing you what they're willing to do to someone to make sure they try to get the testimony they want. And it's sickening. It's not a good feeling. So thank you for the 5 Black Butterfly and for the reminder to check out that message there. FFS says, ever read something so stupid from someone it gives you Forrest Whitaker eye? Oh no, shout out to Forrest Whitaker. Don't do that to Forrest. We don't want to do that. Oh yes, and the 10K celebration stream. Guys, so next Friday's YSL panel on Nick Starrow's channel. Not only are we celebrating 10K, but Nick Starrow will also be wearing a Buc-ee's onesie. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great, great time. It's going to be a great time. I got to pull up Nick's link. I think I have it open already. So you should be subbed to Nick if you're not already. And you should be there on Friday. I am really tempted if I can find the time to try to go to a Buc-ee's between then and now. If we get this website launched for my job, and we're doing testing tomorrow morning. So if things go well, maybe I'll find some time to sneak to a Buc-ee's and get a Buc-ee's hat. Can't wait for it. And then Rice Street, are you closing us out letting 5 more free? The free and green. Rice Street, everybody's been incredible today. I love that, hitting the like button's always free. Coming to hang out is always free. Nobody should throw in support that they don't have. But when someone comes in and really gifts members, sends in supers, and supports the time that it takes to do these videos, I feel weird saying that because I would do it for free to hang out with you guys. But to get the support on top of it is super, super nice. And then Rice Street has just gone above and beyond. Again, that is our Rice Street. That is the honorable Rice Street, not that other Rice Street. So thank you again. That is rounding it up to 120, 115, right? I can't even keep up because you've just been throwing them down. You have been throwing them down. I think it might be more than that. I gotta recount. And then we'll redirect over to Tay-Biz. And again, I will link to Hella's channel if you want to go check out Sarah Boone and Ryan Koberger content. But holy moly, we've got 50 and then 20, so 70, then 80, then 90. Like just crazy, crazy. What are you doing over there? 100. And then we've got 105. I feel like I'm missing another 10. I thought you did 110. Who knows? StreamYard probably missed one. I think it was 115 total, but that's just crazy. That is just crazy. And guys, I don't know if there's any truth to Gaither being married, and that was the verbiage, was married. That was the verbiage. Was married to Demikian Garlington's aunt. That's what Zachary's father was saying in a live stream. But the family members had also been saying that they weren't even trying to contact Quindarious Zacharym. I think we've just got to wait to see what comes out in court. If there was a marriage, there should be a record of it, and I'm assuming the defense has heard by now and is looking. So we'll have to see. And then we are dropping... and then we are dropping another one here. Who is the lucky freebie out here? Homie Don't Play That got the last gifted membership. Now, I can't pull that up on StreamYard. StreamYard doesn't tell me who gets the membership, so I can't click it. I can only see it when I'm looking at YouTube. So, shout out to Homie Don't Play That. Great name to end the stream with. And, there you go, you guys. We'll be heading over to Tay-Biz. Dropping the link one more time. So that is Tay. Hella will also be starting soon. And keep an eye out also tonight, later this evening. I still think Dear Will Christian is going to be doing some rewinds on the YSL trial opening statements. I just didn't see it actually scheduled yet. But thank you guys for hanging out. I'm going to end this in YouTube so you guys will come over with a redirect over to Tay-Biz. See you guys tomorrow. Again, I'm starting late, but hang out wherever you feel like hanging out, and see you then. Thank you so much, you guys. Take care.